Hello and welcome to the WrestlePurists Podcast. I'm joined today by Lovely and Jay Shout, and we are here to talk about the current state of the women's wrestling in the United States. So what I want to do is kind of go through each of the companies, look at the talent, look at what they do well, look at what they do bad, what can they do better, and at the end we'll probably just rank them or something like that. So to jump straight in, really, what should we start with? Should we start with AEW? Should we start with WWE? Or what do you think we should start with, JSL?
Oh God, why me?
Oh, just picking on you.
Since people think I'm a WWE fan, let's start with WWE.
Okay, start with WWE. So I think it's fair we'll just look at the talent and kind of what a quick line on what we think of their usage of them. So for example, like we'll look at, Alexa Bliss. What are they doing with her? Do you know what I mean? It's a really weird situation.
Oh God.
Alexa Bliss, Bianca Belair. Obviously, she's it's starting to feel like they're treating her like an ace, but they've done that before, and then it got snatched away from us for nearly a year. So she's an interesting one.
My concern with all the Bianca stuff is that it always feels like they'll drop the ball for somebody if there's like a bigger return or something like that. Like they'll push her to the side once there's like something new. And this Sonya feud is okay. I think it's kind of uninspiring because of who Sonya's feuded with in the past, and it obviously gives off some type of optics. But moving forward, I hope that they give her the Charlotte match that she needs to defeat all 4 horsewomen, and she needs to beat Charlotte. Don't know if that'll happen, but I think she's weird in the totem poles right now, especially given her age, because she's not that much younger than the rest of the horsewomen to put her in that position. So she's, I think, the best non-horsewoman that they book.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a fair thing to say because she's very deserving of it as well. So obviously we've got Carmella.
I have no idea what's going on with Carmella. I don't understand the purpose of Carmella at this point. I am completely confused with what's going on with her.
Well, they're just in terms of her booking and just usage. Anyway, she's just someone that she's always on TV.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair to say. She's always doing something. She's always involved with something, feuding with someone or a team or whatever.
But is it meaningful? Are they utilizing Carmella for just like the pop culture booking? That's what I call Carmella. Carmella is the pop culture booking where they're trying to incorporate the housewives type reality show type booking that they're doing with her. So if it works for her, great. Would I like to see her do something more meaningful away from being associated with Corey? Absolutely.
Yeah, she's like a lot of the stuff that she's in, it doesn't really have any depth to it. But that being said, like I said, at least she's being used, and at least she's always got some sort of story going on or something, even if it's ridiculous. I don't think they see her as like on a Bianca or horsewoman level by any means, but I think it's clear to see that they do have they are pretty fond of her. The next person I've got down is Dana Brooke. God bless. They're always giving her stuff though, regardless of what we think of her as a performer. Relief. Yeah, regardless of what we think of her in the ring or anything like that, but like they're always throwing her stuff.
They're giving her something.
They're giving her something to do. Whether that's marrying Reggie or whatever.
Are they actually married? Not
in real life,
not kayfabe. I mean, like they did the pin and everything. So, like, does that invalidate?
I don't. They're still married technically.
Oh God! Okay.
Because they said, I'm sure they said I do and all that sort of stuff. They got married, then as soon as they were married, Reggie was trying to roll up, trying to roll up these women. Okay, so Doudrop. I think that's quite an interesting one because they started using her pretty heavily. And it feels like I haven't seen her in a while. I don't know if she's injured. I don't know if anything's going on with her.
Like she's back on main event.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean. It's like you got Doudrop. She can quote. You know, she's pretty solid in the ring.
She's
and it's
amazing
just,
in the ring.
You know, she's a powerhouse. So it's like it's always good to have a heel powerhouse on your roster, whether that be man or woman, in my opinion, anyway. So to see her kind of
the Queen's Crown, I would have gave it to her instead of Zelina. If it was just them two left in the finals, I would have gave her an oomph and gimmick, because they keep changing her from heel to face, and they don't know what they're doing with her exactly, or what her look or what makes her different is. She just comes out to face music while she's a heel now, which I don't understand either. So there's just a lot of ends that they need to tie with her.
Definitely agree on you on that, to be honest. But look, yeah, she's someone I'd definitely like to see more on TV. Because a lot of people drew the comparisons to, like, in terms of where she fits on the roster, she's like the new Nia Jax replacement. You know, the powerhouse female heel on the roster. You know, and in my opinion, anyway, that was an upgrade for me. So yeah, to see her not involved as much anymore, it's kind of, you know.
I think what kind of stuck in with Doudrop, number one, is all the controversy around the name change. That kind of took away a lot of the steam that they had with her to kind of build, as well as the mismatch of putting her with Eva Marie. Like, to me, that was rough. I have no clue why that happened.
That was rough.
So all of the steam that she could have came in with as like a crazy heel was completely derailed by those little intricacies of just mismanagement and poor booking with her. So now they have to either kind of push her to the side or try to recoup what they lost with that initial debut. So I don't know how she's going to recover from that right now.
It's tough, man. It's tough to see how they're going to fit all these women in. The next one I've got up is Liv Morgan. And, you know, she's always been prominently used. She obviously has a lot of fans that get behind her. She has a really strong following, in my opinion, anyway. Yeah, people like to get behind her. She's always being used, but I feel like there could always be a step further they could go with her.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. I'd like to know what you guys think about it. Well, think about it, to be honest.
I originally was not a fan of Liv Morgan at all. It was kind of like, okay, I don't get it. Like, this is NXT Liv Morgan to, you know, main roster.
Yeah.
But seeing her come into her own and find who she is so easy to root for her, because not only does she have the charisma, she also has the in-ring skill. Like, the girl has worked her tail off since she got to the main roster and has improved drastically.
Yeah.
But when you're working for companies like this, if you're not the girl that they want to succeed, they're going to try to do anything that they can to kind of muffle the sound of the crowd, which is what's going on with Liv. Liv has the potential to be up there with the way that they booked Alexa in the past with the whole goddess gimmick. She could have been that new version of that. But I'm wondering, what is the disconnect between creative and Liv? Not necessarily the fans, not her charisma, not her in-ring skill. What is the disconnect with creative? Because the girl, you put the rocket on her, I feel like she can shoot to the moon.
Definitely.
If I'm making early picks for Money in the Bank, I would choose her right now.
100%.
And I know, like, the babyface Money in the Bank thing doesn't always work, but I think for her, she's waited so long and she's gone so long without, you know, even having a championship, that I think it's worth it. I think the Rhea feud is okay. I think her matches with Sasha were really good. I think that, and Naomi, of course, those are my favorite parts of the feud. But I really wish that they would have kept her on SmackDown, and I wish that she would have been the one to beat Charlotte. That was my plan pre-draft. With what they should have did with her. But hopefully they have some stuff in store for her by the time we get to Money in the Bank, which is like, oh my God, 3 months away now. So
yeah, they've got a lot of big shows coming up. They've got a lot of big shows, so they're gonna have to. It'd be nice if they did throw something in, like someone like that getting a crowning moment, you know. And yeah, the idea of her beating Charlotte, that would have been, you know. And I agree with Lovely's point in that. If you did actually go through with it with Liv and strap a belt to her or something like that, or even put her in a really heavily featured feud that is noticeably noticeably heavily featured as well.
They've had the chance to do it before. Sorry, I just want to say this because we were all rooting for her at Money in the Bank last year too.
Yeah,
and they still put it on Nikki ASH, and we all know how that went. It was a 30-day reign, and she lost in every match that she. But like, regardless of that, I think the perfect opportunity would have been to put it on Liv. But now I think this will be the second go around, and if it's not Liv, I'd say Naomi. But we'll get there too.
You mentioned Nikki ASH, and she was literally the next girl I'd down anyway. So yeah, yikes. I mean, God bless her, but it's just it's tough, man. And obviously, as soon as the novelty wore off, the creative just completely lost interest in it. And
well, here's the thing, and I'll be the heel of this when it comes to Nikki, right? I get that this was her idea. She pitched. It got over. I understand that. I love that for her. I want to see all my women win. That's amazing. However, that was ass. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking about the dynamic of where wrestling as a whole is. Not just women's wrestling, but just wrestling as a whole. It's in a place where the reality era times 1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you bring this character who we love, Nikki Cross. We love that entrance music with the scream. Like, that was beautiful, right? And then you go so far left and make her straight out of not even a Marvel or DC like comic, like out of like a sci-fi movie version of a superhero, right? And drop the ball tremendously. Like, I've never. We saw them live. They came to North Carolina live, and her gimmick, she was going against Rhea at the time. I felt so bad because that girl was in that ring almost in tears because of the reaction that she was getting from the fans. And I'm like, why would you not make if you're gonna do this cheesy, campy gimmick, why not rev it up and make her a monster heel with it? And they tried at the end, but by that time, no one cared.
Yeah,
that was ass. I'm sorry.
I think it makes it worse that she was almost a superhero. She was never an actual superhero. So whenever she would lose, she would blame it on she's not a superhero yet. You're the champion. You cannot blame you losing on you not yet being a superhero. What is it even? I don't know.
What does that mean? Why? Why are we doing this?
It's tough stuff. Zelina, she's just always involved. I don't think there's not really too much to say about her, to be honest, and her booking. We see her on TV quite a lot. It's never anything overly important, but, she isn't getting embarrassed week in, week out either way. So,
I don't know when the last time she won a match was, though.
Yeah.
I don't know when the last time she won a match was, though.
Yeah, wins and losses don't matter over there.
Very true.
As long as you're on TV, you're on TV, you're picking up your paycheck. It is what it is, So, Rhea Ripley, I think that when it comes to her with creative and the guys who are making the decisions there, so with Rhea Ripley, I think they don't truly get what they've got with her, but they know they've got something. So it's really weird. There's a misconnect with what she is and how they're trying to.
I tell you what,
it's a tough one.
Tell you what's not a disconnect. The way I feel about Rhea Ripley. Okay, she can do no wrong to me. Everything she does is absolute chef kiss. I agree that there is a severe disconnect with her and creative. It's kind of the same thing with Liv, which I think their partnership was perfect. I was like, why would y'all break that up? I thought that was a perfectly dynamically placed tag team.
Yeah.
So quickly too.
It was. I don't understand that. I don't know what Vince's hatred is with tag teams, but I thought if you're gonna have Sasha and Naomi together, which we'll get to them, that was a perfect dynamic to have. Have in the fray. And Rhea has that star quality where she's universally appealing to everyone, and it makes you question who you are when you see Rhea Ripley. And no, really, I struggle with Rhea. Good, like she doesn't have to be severely technical. She's not a high flyer. She's the tallest 5'8" person I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen someone my height look 6'2". But she has such a grand charisma about her and such a thing that could cross over. It begs the same question with Liv. Like, what is the disconnect with creative? Also, do they have any women in creative? No, the answer is no. It wasn't a question.
Because on the writing team, we don't even know who's on there. You know, because I remember that incident a couple years ago. There was it was a black female.
Yeah,
she was like a comedy writer or something. Had no background in wrestling or anything, and she said so much in an interview. Then like wrestling fans got a hold of that and just torched her, and she left. That was probably, but you know. Besides, you know, Stephanie, who I doubt has any involvement really. I'm sure she could probably, you know, have some sort of influence. But they
have what I like to call diversity check marks in every company, where they have people to say that they have them, but does their voices mean anything? And you can have a woman writer on the team, or you can have a writer of color on the team, but if their ideas and their voices are stifled by everyone else in the room, what's the point of having them there? So that's kind of what we're dealing with when it comes to creative.
That's what we're dealing with this whole conversation, to be honest. But yeah, because I'm gonna keep trying to fly through this roster. Sonya Deville, so whatever. She's
figure that out, dude.
You know, she's an authority figure, so we see her all the time, but she's not wrestling. But she is now because she's challenging for the world title. Whatever, you know. Aaliyah. When I say Aaliyah, I think that's NXT 2.0. Like that's who that should be, and that's nothing against Aaliyah. You know, she's clearly pretty new, etc. And because she's young.
Do you know how much she was in NXT?
She's been there forever.
How many years we talking now?
6 to 7 in NXT.
Yeah, she's almost 10 years in.
Okay. Damn. Well, she seems like a nice girl. Anyway, Lacey Evans.
No, pass.
We can go. We can, yeah.
I mean,
pull yourself up on your bootstrap.
I'll just say, they're trying.
Are they?
You know, you know what kills me? When they play these Lacey Evans promos since she's coming back, you know, the whole sympathy, life stories. Like you've got Lacey pouring her heart out, and the timeline's just cooking her, man. Like, just mate, it's rough. But
I don't think this is the time for the gimmick. When America is like this, I don't think that's when you do that.
Yeah, it's they haven't read the room very well there.
Slaughter and stuff.
That's what I was going to say. She definitely has that late 80s, early 90s gimmick going on right now. And this is way too much of a sensitive thing for y'all to come back on. Also knowing that this is not a gimmick for her. Like, this is literally how she views life. So I think, you know, always when you have a heel, blurring that line between fiction and reality is always good, but when it's something this touchy, I don't know if it's that great of an idea in 2022, because I would hate for Lacey to get touched outside. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's a little bit too, I don't like it.
Yeah, they're trying like
Jackson Riker do the same thing. Like, he... Yeah.
God bless that child.
Yeah. There's someone
helping. Oh my God, the female Jackson Riker. Somebody understood. Great.
Basically.
Okay, so Naomi. Naomi's always been somewhat fascinating to me, especially in recent years, because it always seems so stop and start with her. So it's like now, she's in Team Glow with Sasha, etc., etc. They'll probably be split up in a few months or something. Then after that feud, it's like that's when I worry. But in those moments, what Naomi finds herself, those are the times I worry for her, when she hasn't got something obvious on the plate for her.
Yeah.
Because like I said, they're so stop and start with her, man. And you know, Naomi's another one in a sense, like kind of similar to like Liv and Rhea, really, where she does have this strong following. People really like her. People really connect with her. She always gets big pops as well. And she can move in the ring like Liv and Rhea can as well. You know what I mean? Out of the three, I'd probably say Rhea's probably my favorite in ring. But like overall, I'm big fans of all three of them. But yeah, with Naomi, it always seems so stop and start. Like I know she's a current champion. I love what they're doing at the moment with her and Sasha. I think Sasha really helps elevate that division when she's holding the titles. I do wish Sasha was doing something bigger, but at the same time, I'm still enjoying what she's doing with Naomi. But yeah, Naomi, stop and start.
Naomi is very much now the Black Natty, to where they use her for her tenure, for her influence, for her nurturing abilities with the other girls. And I think she's now moved into that realm, well, where Natty is, to where we know how great you are. You know, like you can heal her face. Like Natty is great. To me, she's an amazing heel, right? And I feel like Naomi is the polar opposite, where she's an amazing face. And I think she's now moved into that realm of kind of they're using her as like the coach kind of thing. And that's why when she's not in a program, it's so scary, because you know that they're using her to elevate someone else. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's where it's frustrating, because she's good on her own. You know what I mean? Personally, I would have preferred Naomi and Bianca as a team, but because of what kind of hot streak Bianca's on, I understand why that wasn't done.
Yeah.
So I think that's my frustration with Naomi, is that I don't want her to be the Black Natty, but I think that's kind of where she already is, and it's infuriating, honestly.
I wish that they brought the Holy Trinity thing to TV right now. I feel like putting Bianca and Sasha and Naomi all together, especially since they're tag champs, they travel all the time. They can be on Raw. You can put them with Bianca, and Bianca as a face will have backup, especially against Sonya Deville, and it makes sense because Sonya targeted all three of them to connect that Holy Trinity idea now.
Exactly.
Will they do it? No, but
it makes too much sense.
Exactly. But it would set up a feud eventually for when Bianca turns heel. She could first feud with Naomi or something like that, or obviously circle back to Sasha. There's so much history that they should be able to play off of, but they won't. But I don't know. I think Naomi on SmackDown isn't really the place for her. I think she'd probably be better off on Raw. I don't know if they'll move her in the draft or not, but it seems like, because they consider Ronda a face, I think she would be under Ronda on their faces list. I'm trying to think of the SmackDown roster.
Let me know when we get to Ronda.
Oh God.
It's gonna get ugly with me. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. But it's like with Naomi, the obvious choice is everyone wants her with the bloodline, right? That's the obvious choice. But no, doing the Holy Trinity on TV would be perfect, especially now that we see the other company kind of starting their Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We know where that came from. Like, you don't have to be, a rocket scientist to understand that these two companies watch each other. They see what's going on social media, and they're taking from it, and both companies do it. I'm not a super fan of either. I don't care if it's not the Indies. Let's just be honest. I don't care about either one of them. So, but I look at it objectively and subjectively to where I can see both sides of the coin. And, if they're going to do that, that's a perfect opportunity. And then to create the feud with Sonya, because like you said, she's gone after all three. And then that's kind of like dismantling the establishment, whole authority breakdown type thing.
And so great representation. How many shirts do you think they would sell if they made the Holy Trinity on shirts?
All of them.
I think I think that would do really well, genuinely. But yeah, like I said, Naomi, she finds herself in this weird space now. Obviously, us three in here hope the best for her all the time. Not particularly mad at what she's doing right now. I think that's fair to say. But like I said, same with Liv, Rhea, etc. There's always going to be that extra step that could probably go with them. So the next on the list I've got is Natalya. The boat.
She's
best
on the
of all
NXT
time.
roster now. We can't talk about her.
She's on both. But yeah, let's just quickly gloss over what she's doing at the moment. She's kind of playing like the vet role that's sick of all these kids, you know. So obviously she showed up at NXT 2.0 and put the locker room on notice. Then obviously she's had those little bit of tensions with Raquel on SmackDown. So yeah, that's what she's doing at the moment. I don't think some people may say she's used too much. I would disagree because she pops me. But yeah, again, I don't think they're doing wrong by her. They're not doing. I think that would be unfair to say that they're not booking her like shit. They're trying to get what they can out of her. And,
yeah.
They always do. And like I said, she's experienced. She's probably good to have backstage and making other women feel comfortable.
They're doing big sister booking with Natty. That's just really what they're doing.
Yeah,
they're keeping her relevant. They're keeping her fresh. They're keeping her in the fray, in the conversation constantly. Which to me, with her tenure, age, all of that stuff, I think is good to do her the way that they are doing her. Honestly, I don't have any qualms about her booking.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's nothing. There's nothing crazy going on with Natalya. Obviously, the next one I've got down is Raquel.
Pass.
We'll see. She hasn't done anything anyway, so it's like even there's nothing really to say. They've debuted her, give her a new name, and we'll have to wait and see. It looks like she might go into a feud with Natty. But
I don't know how many times I've slandered that girl. I don't like her. I really don't like that woman.
Oh no.
She doesn't do a lot for me, to be honest. I'm kind of.
She shows her back.
Not Lady Braun. This is sick.
I feel like a few months ago, maybe it might have even been longer than that, to be honest. I felt like she was making quite a bit of progress in ring, and lately when I've seen her, it doesn't feel like it's clicked as well as it has in previous months.
It was better when she was a heel.
That's always going to help with someone like Raquel because of the way she wrestles. She's a powerhouse and she's somewhat limited in that, she can just slam you and throw you around, you know what I mean? And her finisher looks great always, but like I said, we'll have to see what they're going to do with her. So Ronda Rousey.
Dear God. Why? Why are we doing this? Why does she exist?
For me, it's they really don't book to her strengths. They throw her out there for in-ring promos and stuff like that. It's like they just do not book to her strength. Just have her. The biggest pop I think I've ever seen Ronda get was at WrestleMania when she had Triple H on her shoulders.
The biggest pop she
let her just do cool shit like that.
When she debuted, that was the biggest pop she got, and then we got over it.
Ronda, this is what I mean. Like, Ronda is an insane athlete, man. Like, just let her do cool physical shit. All this stuff where they're trying to get her to talk and all that. It's just
isn't like Drew Gulak involved in that?
Yeah, they kind of involved him last night. Well, they did. She put him in an armbar. So, did you watch last week when Charlotte owned Drew Gulak? All right, so Drew Gulak is apparently just to quickly fly through it. Drew Gulak is apparently going to be an interviewer now. So that seems like that's going to happen. So last week, Adam Pearce and Charlotte Flair were talking. Charlotte was moaning about having to defend a bout in the old quick match. Then Drew Gulak just interrupted out of nowhere, said he wants to be an interviewer, blah blah blah. He can ask the hard hitting questions. Charlotte was like, "Don't interrupt me. If you want to interview someone, get to the ring now and you can interview me." So they've done this weird segment. Drew Gulak said, he was asking her questions like, "I'm sure I saw you tap. Why didn't you want to face Ronda?" Charlotte took offense to it, put him in the figure eight. He was screaming, "I quit." Yeah.
That match is happening down the street for me, and I'm not going to see that.
So
I swear to God.
They turned Drew Gulak into what James Ellsworth was essentially now, like kind of like a spot monkey for the women.
I mean,
it's not been a great start.
What was that?
Doesn't he help train some of the women sometimes? I know he was a coach and he did like Bad Bunny and stuff.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah, he helps a lot
He's
backstage.
so good. He's so
He's
good.
very, very good. He has a little bit of personality as well, man. It's not even just like, oh, he's a technician. He's, you know, like even in the segment yesterday. So, segment yesterday was, it was a contract signing. Then when Ronda and Charlotte both sat down to sign the contract, there was no contract there, and Adam was like, "Oh, where's the contract?" Then Drew comes running down the ramp with the contract. It's like, "Oh, I've got it. It's here." Then something. Ronda and Charlotte start brawling. Drew Gulak, I think he drags Ronda off Charlotte to like split them up, and then Charlotte puts him in an armbar, and he screams, "I quit" again. And so yeah, but speaking of Ronda, like I said, she I just don't think they play to her strengths, man. Like she came in as a big name, and it's only simmered down since. It's tough because, like I said, they just do not book to her strengths, and I think that's a lot of the things with WWE. They just don't understand the talent that they've got, whether that be Ronda being a very big example of it, or even other examples we spoke about earlier, like Naomi, Rhea, Liv. They don't get it. There's a misconnect there. And with it being Ronda Rousey as well, it's so weird that there is a disconnect there. Like that, if you're WWE and you bring in someone like that in, you want to make sure you get it right, and they haven't. So it's tough, man. It is tough.
The fact that she's not infused with Shayna Baszler or Raquel, or people that it makes sense for her to exercise the strengths that she has. And I'm putting that in quotations because I absolutely hate Ronda Rousey. But there's so much more you can do with her as opposed to giving her a microphone. The worst thing you could have ever done was given someone who is considered the world's most dangerous person a microphone, and they completely undo everything that they did in the ring. It's kind of like Jet Li, right? Jet Li in the movies is amazing and kicking everybody's ass. As soon as he starts talking, you're like, ew, I'm not afraid of you at all. Like, I can beat you up. And that's kind of what's going on with Ronda. She should have been one of those 1 or 2 word promos, kind of like they did Brock.
Or she needs a manager.
Right? That too. They should have put her with Paul Heyman. They should have made a stable for Paul Heyman, before he got with Roman, because of course we're not touching that. That's perfect. Don't ruin it.
Or with Bivens, that'd be funny.
That would have been amazing. Have someone speak for her. And the way that they booked Brock at the beginning when he first started, he didn't talk much because he had that mouth squeaky voice. No one's afraid of that. So give her a mouthpiece that intensifies the fear factor she has, but you give her a microphone and this terrible gear, this Fashion Nova gear that she goes and
she also hates the fans. So maybe work on that too.
Likewise.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Ronda. Okay, so going from a least favorite to a favorite, Sasha Banks.
Oh my God.
Sasha Banks.
I named my dog after her.
Well, there you go. There's
no, I'm so serious. My dog's name actually is Sasha Banks, but
we could probably go for like an hour just talking about the greatness of Sasha Banks, to be honest. In my opinion, she's probably the greatest female wrestler in US history. She's incredible. But I think there is another one that I feel like they could go a step further with. Like they could make her I feel like there's always some juice left with what WWE can get out of Sasha Banks, even though she's a horsewoman, even though she's been a multiple-time world champion, all this stuff. I feel like there is just something like Sasha could really, she's already got a crazy following. That's the weirdest thing about it. Like she's got one of the craziest followings in all of wrestling that goes to bat for her like no other fan base. And they just sometimes it just feels like out of the 4 horsewomen, for me, it feels like in WWE's eyes, them 4 are not all on the same level. Sure. They have Charlotte and Becky, and it used to only be Charlotte up until a couple of years ago. Now, Charlotte and Becky, then you've got Sasha and Bayley. I think Sasha should be above all of them. Because I just think she has the highest ceiling in terms of money she can make for the promotion, how big of a star she can be, and like that's obviously saying something because Becky Lynch was literally the biggest star in the promotion a couple of years ago for a short minute. So yeah, like I said, I feel like there is more that can follow through with
I don't like
Sasha
Becky.
Banks.
I don't like Becky.
Why?
I still think that the heel stuff hasn't worked for me. Really, I just don't understand it.
Fair.
I'm just not over that hump yet.
It's not great. We got anything to add on Sasha Banks?
I try to not speak too much on Sasha Banks because I think I have an alternate view of Sasha than most, and I think it's kind of jarring. I understand the appeal. I understand what fans see. I understand what the company sees 100%. Won't take anything away from her in-ring skill, ring psychology, the physical appeal, the crossover appeal, all of that 100% understand. I think what puts a cap on Sasha, and I've always said it, is her promos. Sasha does not, she's not good on the mic. And that's just my personal opinion. This is what I compare her to, right? So you have like Mary J. Blige. We all know everyone loves Mary J. Blige, but singing wise, she's not that vocally talented, right? But she makes you feel what she's talking about because of the investment that you have in her. Yes. Sasha has the same thing. And while I may not be the hugest Charlotte fan, I do believe when it comes to the four horsewomen, she has every check mark checked. There's nothing that she has not done to an excellent caliber, right? So that's why I personally put her above everyone, even though she's not my favorite. Bayley's my favorite. That's just personal, right? But Sasha is missing that mic skill.
Yeah. I don't know. That's definitely fair.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a speech thing, enunciation thing. I don't know what it is, but sometimes she jumbles over her words to the point where you kind of lose track of the promo. And I think if she can get that together, then she can be neck and neck with Charlotte as far as checking off every check mark. And that's just my view of it.
Yeah,
I know. Don't beat me up in the chats and on Twitter. Shut up.
No, they won't. It's a safe space here. You know?
I think the thing with Sasha that I've always seen is that WWE is afraid to book her because she has so much mainstream appeal that they're afraid of losing her, like Cena and The Rock and stuff like that. True. That they've, just tried to ease back on, booking her like crazy and everything like that and highlighting her as they should. Because if you look at her numbers on like interviews and like First We Feast and stuff like that, she's a huge draw for anything related to like pop culture and things like that. And she has the look for it. And she's obviously the one to make the connection. But they're just incredibly afraid. And she also takes a lot of breaks, which I understand that, can make it hard to book her sometimes and stuff like that. So I don't think make her a champion or anything like that. I think just give her some of her Legends matches that she wants. Yeah. If you were going to bring Rita back.
That was perfect. Why would we not do that?
Yeah.
I think when it comes to Sasha as well, when I watch these interviews and stuff that she does, whether that be a wrestling interview, whether it be hot ones, whether it be whatever it is, I connect so much more with her when she's talking in those authentic environments. And, I'm not sure, obviously we don't know how much she's scripted, if she's scripted at all or whatever it is. But for me, it just doesn't feel natural when she's talked. Although, like, I don't find her promos aren't offensively bad or anything. They're just fine, They're just whatever. But to go to Lovely's point, Charlotte is probably one of the stronger out of the horsewomen in promos. Because Becky's so hit and miss. Do you know what I mean? Especially with the heel work she's doing at the moment. Like, Becky can cut promos and hit them better. Like, Becky probably has the highest ceiling for promos out of the four. But like I said, she's so hit and miss. Bayley, it's either Bayley or Charlotte. Because Bayley's I think Bailey's great at promos.
She's perfect. She does nothing wrong.
Bailey has, I think, the best character work out of all of them.
I think with Charlotte, I feel like when she plays a heel, man, like I really buy that she's a bitch.
So, no, really.
You know, like genuinely, like that is like when Charlotte's cutting these like promos berating women and stuff, like that's you know what I mean. She makes me buy it. So
because it's real, like you're a Flair, so you can literally talk that shit because number one, your name says it.
Yeah.
Your in-ring skill says it. For you not to have any wrestling before this, you were, doing other sports, came in and cooked everybody. Like everything.
She did it because her brother told her to.
Everything that she says, she backs it up. And that's why she's one of those characters that has to stay like a permanent heel because like she's like the Miz. Like you don't want to see the Miz as a face. The Miz is the heel that has to stay a heel because everything that he's saying is real on and off paper.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. She is definitely a career heel.
Perfect.
It's a whole presentation and everything. Like the Queen, like you don't cheer that. You know what I mean? It's so pretentious and everything. It's just
the nepotism of it is great. I love it.
Exactly.
I don't like
suits
Charlotte,
her.
but
that's the thing.
I like character work. I'm not a Charlotte stan, but I'm a character.
I like Charlotte more than most people do.
Yeah, same.
I think that's
to be honest. Stuff. So we've spoke about Charlotte, we spoke about Sasha, Becky, Bailey. Becky, we've kind of just touched on her. You know, like I said, she's in terms of I'll just talk about usage. You know, they use her pretty well. She's always in the main event or doing something.
She didn't lose for 3 years.
Well, there you go. You know,
so, like,
yeah, she's Becky Lynch. She's like one of the aces of the women's division. I don't know if ace is the right word because she's a heel at the moment, but she's one of the main players. Especially, obviously, it took a minute to get her there, of course, but we got there in the end when she became the man. And man, like, she's obviously a big player in their eyes. So I'm not exactly. Like sometimes, like with her being a heel, I just kind of don't like the shtick that she's doing. I'm not necessarily against her being a heel. It's just this version of her being a heel I'm not really fucking with at the moment.
The issue with her heel work right now is 100% that they're trying to make her Lady Seth. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That is the problem because Seth's heel work, and I know we're talking about the women, but I'm talking wrestling as a
of course, go ahead.
Seth's heel work is so spot on, and I don't care what anyone says. He's up there with Triple H when it comes to heel work. He don't miss to me. Every version of Seth Rollins has hit, and because now it's such a big thing that they're married and have children, they're trying to make her the female Seth. And that's not her. That's just not who she is. And it's very clear that since she's come back, that's just not her. You're trying to, like the antics with the outfits and the hair and the extravagance. Like, come on, that's not Becky Lynch.
The thing is, if they didn't introduce Seth this way after she left, I would have been like, okay, this is fine. This is authentically Becky because that is Becky's stylist. Becky put Seth on to King Troy or whatever.
Yeah. So, the character work though.
Yeah, I completely
agree.
Not
her.
Yeah. The clothes and stuff I like. I actually like that aspect of her character that she stands out from the rest of the division with her clothes and it makes her unique and everything like that. Honestly, I never saw it in her as a babyface. I don't see it in her as a heel. But I think I have like a personal vendetta against Becky Lynch, maybe, and I think that might be my thing.
You just wanted to go away.
I was happiest when she wasn't in wrestling, and that sounds really mean, but I was just happiest when that wasn't happening. But she's a mom. I think you just bring her back as a face. People loved her before she was gone, and I think to try to force this heel persona on her, I think she's done the best with what she was given. But I still don't think that it has connected. People still want to cheer her. After this, when she comes back, they're definitely going to want to cheer her now. So, like, I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's a weird one. But yeah, like I said, She's one of the main players. It's just that her current shtick is just not really hitting. But we don't know how much. Well, it's just a weird one. It's just kind of a lack of reading the room and what they should do. But in terms of her being used, it's not like we're complaining about not seeing enough Becky Lynch, you know. So, but one that we are complaining about not seeing enough of is Bayley. Bayley, man, like, what are they doing? Like, what's going?
I don't know.
We'll do a double here. We'll do Bayley and Asuka because I'll quickly mention Bliss at the start, and she kind of falls into this category as well of like, where is she? Bayley, Asuka, Bliss. What? Just it's so wild to me that stars that big are just kind of, you know, sitting on the sides. You know, obviously it's not very smart to speculate on people's injuries and stuff. I'm not sure if it's ever been announced or formally reported that Asuka is 100% fit, but considering it was just it looked like an arm injury, she's been gone for she's been gone for so long now. It's like surely she's ready to go. Maybe, I don't know, man. She's a really weird one. Then Bliss is obviously they creative just don't know what they're doing with her. Then Bayley's probably falls into that category as well. It's just like it's insane to me.
Bayley was injured. They didn't know what they had in her either. Like she wasn't on WrestleMania. And Becky pitched to come back in time. I sat through a bunch of interviews, and Becky pitched. Well, she pitched to have something with Bayley, even if it wasn't a match at WrestleMania, which would have had her more involved than getting taken down by the Bella Twins. And I'm a Bella Twins fan. Bella Twins brought me into wrestling, but Jesus Christ, that's not what Bayley needs to be doing in 2021. The title stuff, she never even got to be in front of an audience, and I feel really bad about that whole thing, especially since
because she was so good as well.
Yeah, she was like the pioneer of the pandemic for the women's division,
she was
and for the company as a whole, because she was on both brands and NXT, like everything.
No, seriously, when it comes, it's three women in WWE that I can get on my soapbox and talk for 22 days about. It's Naomi, it's Bianca, and it's Pam. Those three, I will literally take my earrings off and fight you over because no, and that's so real. I don't think she gets enough credit for how much she carried the women's division. I'll back it up. She don't get enough credit for how much she carried WWE through the pandemic, honestly. Not just the women's division.
Yeah.
That heel turn was probably one of the best heel turns that I've seen in a very, very long time. Because imagine being that white meat of a baby face, right? Like the kids, children, puppies dressing up like you, doing TikToks being you. I was Black Bayley for a long time. I was doing her cosplays with the pigtails and everything. Oh, it was sick. It was a sick time. And then to go that hard to come out in with the whole face music, wacky waving dudes, and axe them bamas. Like, no, that character work from Pam was absolutely top tier. And I don't know why she doesn't get as much credit as she deserves. I don't know why she's considered like second tier. You know what I mean? Because she's I'm sorry. Don't get me talking about Pam.
She ticks all the boxes, man. She does. She just wanted, like, you know how you mentioned about Charlotte ticks all the boxes. So does Bayley, man. Like, she can talk. She's got a good look. She can talk. She's got a good look. She can go in the ring. Like, what?
Personality, all of that.
Yeah, just
remember when you said the two tiers of the Horsewomen? You said Becky, Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha.
Yeah, just how the
WWE
sees them.
The top two have a very common denominator.
I wasn't gonna say it.
And then if you look under that Bayley Sasha tier, there's Bianca.
I didn't want to be the one to say it because you know that's normally what I like to talk about, but I
don't give a fight.
I'm just saying.
They have the preferences. They have the preferences.
They are women of color. Let's just. Go ahead.
It's
Do
out
your
there.
list.
It's out there.
Do your little list.
They know. They know. But yeah, so like when it comes to the 4 horsewomen, you know, I think with Becky and Charlotte, you haven't got, if you're fans of them, you haven't got to worry about seeing them on TV in prominent positions. Whereas with Sasha and Bayley, it's, you know, it's a very touch and go. Then finally, to wrap it up, probably should have finished with the horsewomen, but you know, I like her, so I'm going to finish with her. Shayna Baszler.
You missed
They just don't get her.
If she's the last one, then we have another one.
Who?
Xylee.
They don't do nothing with her. That's that. You know what I mean? Xylee, like she was the babyface protector. Now she's a heel, and we don't see her either way. So, you know, obviously it's probably worth noting because it's not like they're doing right by her. Same, like I said, Shayna Baszler. Like I said, I just don't think they get her, to be honest. Then, if you're going to throw in everyone, we got Shotzi. Shotzi, you know, she's very, very, very young, especially for main roster. But, you know, she has a look. She has a really good look. And
they should have put her with Rhea and Liv.
She is not very young. Sorry, that's
no, she's not. But I think they should have put her.
Who am I thinking of as young then?
I don't know, but it ain't Shotzi.
Shotzi's 30.
Yeah, Shotzi up here.
Yeah, that's kind of young.
They should have put her with Liv and Rhea, and then did the Holy Trinity, and that would have been an amazing feud. But again, something that makes too much damn sense.
Yeah.
Okay. She was on Tough. She was on Tough Enough in 2015.
Oh boy!
And that's when they told her that she couldn't continue because of a heart or whatever it was, wasn't it? Then she came back in 2019. That's probably why I'm thinking that she's new. Cause it's not like she's got all this wealth of experience on the indies and stuff. But yeah, so that's the WWE's women. I think we touched on most. There's a couple we missed out, like Tamina.
Nobody's meaner.
There's not much to say. So we'll move on quickly. We'll just do this same thing with AEW now. So I'll let Joshua, you can pick with who you want to start with. Who would you like to start with?
Britt Baker.
Britt Baker. You know what? You're as divisive, etc. as she is. When it comes to her usage and booking, there isn't a whole lot to say about her. They obviously love her more than any other woman in the company, and also it probably wouldn't hurt them to turn her face at this point because the live crowds clearly just love her, you know. So it makes it tough because you can tell she kind of likes being a heel as well. But you know, like I said, they love her. They love her, and like I said, they love her. They clearly love her so much more than the rest of the division, which is great for her. And if you're a fan of her, I've got many friends that are fans of her. I'm not against or overly for her, to be honest. But you know, like I've said about many of these women, even with WWE's,
it's the hand up for me.
Go on, Jay Shell.
If I could make a comparison, I would compare AEW's usage of Britt to NXT's usage of Mandy Rose. And I would also make that comparison in the form of their wrestling ability. But we're going to leave that there.
This is getting vicious now.
So, what if you disagree with that? Okay.
Listen, Britt. Listen. I'm not gonna get on this podcast and just lie. I wouldn't class Britt as one of the great women workers in America, but Mandy Rose. Listen.
She did better than what I was gonna say because I was gonna put her up there with Eva Marie, but I shut up.
Nah, guys, come on. let's all calm down. You know,
that was calm. I think Britt should be better than she is.
Oh.
If we're gonna paint Britt as a horsewoman or a pillar of the women's division in AEW, she should be better than she is. And maybe
that's I get that. That's fair. But when we start throwing out names like Mandy Rose and Eva Marie, I think
when I look at them,
after really guys,
some people think cucumbers taste better pickled. I mean, whatever. It's an opinion.
But yeah, Britt Baker. Anyway.
Oh, you want us to stop on Britt? Oh, okay.
Going straight into someone else that I'm sure is going to be fun. Conti. Yeah.
Can you pull a comment up for me?
Which one?
The Statlander match was great. It was great because of Chris Statlander. The other Brit matches are just they plateau. They all look the same. They all feel the same. She wrestles the same. The stat match.
If Britt Baker was a spice, she would be flour. She's bland as hell. Okay, I said it. I'm sorry. Y'all got to stop the cat. Okay, that girl is a cyborg of everybody else's gimmick put together to make who she is. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. Because now that comment, now I gotta go at her. That comment pissed me off. Because if you just want to be honest, you said we was gonna be honest on this here thing. Y'all couldn't tell the difference between Chelsea Green and Britt Baker until she got to AEW. Let's just be honest. Everybody got her confused with Chelsea Green for the longest. Why? Because there's nothing that stands out about Britt Baker other than the fact that she's also a dentist. That's it. There's nothing more to it. She has. I'm not going to say whose gimmicks they put together to make her, but they did. And they have literally created a Frankenstein effect with Britt Baker. And if you strip away everybody else's influence, that girl is flour. And it's not because of her skin. It's because she's bland as hell. There's no taste. It can be made into anything. She's basically tofu. Whatever you put her with, that's what she's going to absorb and taste like. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Moving on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
you said a name. You said Conti. Right?
Oh,
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, Conti,
she was so good.
She was making a lot of progress. Then I think the consensus opinion now has become, ever since she started being around Sammy Guevara so much, that people have started to see that with her in-ring work and how she carries herself in AEW, and a lot of people are pushing back against that. They've turned the heel with Sammy now to try and combat against that, I guess. But
is she's on TV now more than ever, and it's good to see a woman on TV. I'm gonna say that. Okay.
Yeah, that's.
But what she's doing doesn't work for me, and I don't think it works for most people. I feel like they just slid right into the Cody Brandy spot of like the couple that everybody hates, and I think they have a better reason to hate that couple. But regardless, I think Paige Van Zandt should beat her.
Yeah, that could be fun, definitely. Especially if they want to go all in. Well, not all in, but especially if they want to push Paige Van Zandt from the go. I think with Tay as well, it's like I thought TJ was money, honestly.
It was,
and it's just especially I like Anna Jay as well. Like I like Tay, to be honest. It's just like Jay Shell said, this current stuff, it's just not really for me, but it is good to see her on TV because I do think she's a promising talent. Same with Anna Jay, And
is it good to have her on TV at any cost though? Because I think what's happening is the same thing, kind of like what I was saying about Carmella. They do the pop culture booking, like what's popping the internet or what's popping. Stuff like that is her booking right now, because yes, it's great to see more women on TV, but at the expense of it being because of her raggedy ass man. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like she's getting the treatment that everyone gave Paige when she was dating Alberto Del Rio. You know what I mean? Like the hatred from him is kind of going on her. Also, she didn't help with the stuff she was doing on Twitter. Let's be fair. She has to take accountability for that shit. But it does kind of put a damper on it. And I'm being very positive right now because there's a lot I want to say about that girl, but I'm not going to. So I think it's changing the fact that she's on TV because of why she's on TV. You know what I mean? Like, it's great to see her there, but y'all, we know y'all together. We ain't got to see that. We don't care. Like, stop.
And she was one of the biggest baby faces in the division. They had put a lot of investment in her as a baby face to never even pay that off. Is really disappointing, to be honest. Instead of saying, let's put these two together because ties as a baby face isn't working, that's not what happened. You put them together because you felt like
it popped the internet. Because it popped the internet.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It doesn't work for me. And you're having like sexist things be said at her, and it just doesn't.
Yeah, well, it's just that's Lambert. You get the Lambert treatment.
Regardless of whoever you put with Lambert, they're gonna get the stink on them. So
I think
be careful what
the thing is with Lambert, like, I'm just gonna throw this out there. He is put into positions that make him worse than he actually is. So when I think of someone like Dan Lambert, when you throw him out there with a Chris Jericho, a Sammy Guevara, a Cody Rhodes, like, they're like the three first people I wouldn't put him out there with, because you're just gonna get this weird, corny shit. I don't know, man. All the sexist comments and stuff like that. Like, sometimes the tone down, and it's just like you can tell, like, oh, okay, it's just like a little bit of satire, but you know, it's not really for me. Then sometimes they come out with these wild comments, and it's like, whoa, like. But enough of that.
He was racist, sexist, and homophobic.
He's done it. He's done. You can take it in all kinds of ways. These Lambert promos, but it just, you know, you can. Like I said, you can take them in many different ways. So that's Tay J. Obviously, Anna J. I think it's fair to say that we like her. She's promising, you know. Obviously, it's quite worrying now that she's not part of Tay J.
She's a Ruby.
Well, I'm sure they'll still like. Is Tay J completely broken up now? Was there a blow off to that?
She teams with Ruby.
So she's teaming with Ruby on Dark and stuff at the moment.
That's it.
That could be cool, I guess, but. Still, the next person I've got down is
mentor, but that'll be it for me.
Yeah. The next person I've got down is the Bunny.
The draw.
The Bunny. Because that came from when WWE went head to head with them, innit? WWE went head to head when they put the Bunny on, and she outgrew him in 1849 or something like that. It was crazy. But
quarter hours pop for her and Sheeta.
Yeah, it's very interesting when you look at the quarter hours like that. But the Bunny, she's someone that gets used not as much lately. There was a period, especially when they were doing the Tay J versus her and Ford feud, like, that felt like it was going on forever, almost too long. But obviously it was women wrestling on TV with an actual storyline, I guess. So that was like good to see in that sense. But like I said, it's you know, it kind of went a bit too long. It was like, how many times can you do certain matchups? But yeah, the Bunny seems like someone that they definitely have interest in using her, but it's just that, you know, it's not like she's in any like big feature feuds right now, or it's not like we can see that happening with her in the foreseeable future. Really, she's kind of just going to be like just there. They have quite a few women like that.
I think that they could have even made that feud more interesting, the Tay J and Bunny and Penelope Ford, because they should have took advantage of the opportunity to do mixed tags, because obviously Tay J was connected to the Dark Order, and Penelope and the Bunny were connected to the Hardy family office at that time. And they don't really utilize mixed tag teams enough. And I feel like that's something that the Bunny would really benefit from, is if they do kind of introduce more, you know, mixed tags. She's paired with a bunch of guys. Her husband is the Blade, you know, just like let them wrestle some people together. I think her place as the heel, like the mid-card heel, works. The matches are good enough, but meh.
There's not a lot to say.
That's what I was going to say. They have so many women there without the investment. And it's kind of like what I said on the stream that you had with Scotland yesterday or the other day. They like AEW treats the women's division like SNL skits. Like, that's really how they treat the women. Like, these are little pops of comic reliefs, or you know, like the bunny. Really, like, we couldn't give her another name. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like everything is like campy with the women in AEW, and it looks like a Mad TV skit. It looks like a SNL skit anytime you're putting the women on TV. Even when they do Britt Baker, it looks so overly rehearsed, overly campy, overly just, you know, Melrose Placey. It's just really, that's why I don't have a lot to say about the AEW women's division.
Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard because it goes to what we'll get to a little bit later. It gets to about how, you know, how they overall use the talent in said division. I just think it's good to have a quick look at the talent, because we'll go through the talent like one by one quickly now. And it's like, when people use the excuses of, oh, they haven't got enough talent, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, we've just literally, we're going through right now and assessing all the talent. So, you know, so that's the bunny. Obviously, they've recently just signed AQA. We'll have to see where that goes. Obviously, she's made some appearances on Dark. I think she got a match on Rampage as well. You know, obviously, I'd be a lot more interested if they give me a reason to be interested in her. And I think that's the problem with a lot of the division. Kind of piggybacking off the back of what Lovely said, it's like, we need reasons to care about these women, man. And it's all well and good AQA going out there and hitting shooting star presses and cool shit like that, but it's, you know, obviously, you know, I'm not saying strap a rocket ship to her and have her doing 20-minute segments on on Dynamite or anything, but still, like, you know, give us a little something, even if it's on Dark. Like, I only watch Dark sometimes, but just like, you know,
there's no investment. There's no reason to care about the women's division other than Thunder, Jade now because of the baddie section. And I love Jade, so we'll get to her later. But it's just like, y'all need someone in creative that actually cares about women's wrestling to do something to where you, like I said before, you're not just doing these diversity check marks of just saying, oh, we have a Black one, we have a Hispanic, we have, you know what I'm saying? I need to know why I should care about your AEW's women's roster. And I, as someone who loves women's wrestling, as someone who loves wrestling, I don't care about anything that they have going on over there with the women. And I hate that, because they have one of the best, as far as talent, the talent on that roster is insane. But you guys have treated, and that's my beef with AEW as a whole. These shows are literally sketch comedy shows now, to where it's so much in such a small amount of time, and you're just giving, like, it's like this trying to watch AEW. You don't have time to simmer. You don't have time to invest. You don't have time to process what you just saw, because there's something else, like Will Ferrell's coming out to go like get kicked in the dick, like some crazy shit like that, right? So it's just like, there's nothing for me personally to invest in. I know that there's AEW stands and WWE stands. That's cool for y'all. Y'all do y'all thing.
Yeah, you ain't got to do.
Right, but for me, if Jade's not on there looking fine, or if Thunder Rosa not on there, you know, putting on for her people, I don't care.
Yeah. I think a lot of the fans, there's always the talk about, oh, the fans in the arenas don't really care. And I wonder why that is. I wonder how that happened. Didn't the company try to convince them to not care? You know what I mean? And also this idea that these women only get over once they bleed. I always hate talking about this. But that's because they will only let women have long and good matches if they bleed. They're not allowed to have, like, you could have, if you remember, like, the Hangman and Adam Cole match from Revolution, there was no blood in that, right? There was no blood. You could have a long, good match like that for the women, but they don't give the opportunity to the women to have long matches like that on Dynamite or Rampage or on a pay-per-view even.
They've only done it with Deeb and Sheeda, and even then, it's only like what 12 minutes,
matches.
15.
They've had so many matches to the point where.
And I get it to an extent because of how good they are in ring, but like, at what point do you give WWE other women the opportunity to have actual bangers like they have with Sheeda and Deeb? It's tough, man. Because
if you're going to be on TV, here's the thing. Let's just be honest, right? When you're on network television, you're competing with television shows that have storylines, that have investment, that have all of these things, right? So we watch things like Stardom, Shimmer, all of that. They don't necessarily have to have storylines. They just are people. You watch them for the wrestling, right? But when you're on network television, you have to have character investment, storyline to get people to stay tuned. And that's what AEW is missing for the women's division.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah, it's tough. It's so we could go through all the talent now, so it's like, but this is what it comes down to, really, you know. So next I've got down is Sakura, Emi Sakura. So
she's stricken to dark.
Yeah, she's stricken to dark. She could definitely help out with the women's division as a whole, though, in terms of like giving Tony a hand, giving suggestions, stuff like that, because she's proven she can do that sort of stuff in the past, very effectively and very well. So, you know, and it seems like she, to me, when I watch Emi on Dark and stuff, I get kind of, you know how we were talking about Natty and Naomi earlier, as like the big sister, put the arm around the younger talent. That's what it feels like Emi's doing over there.
She trained a bunch of the girls. She trained
exactly.
and Sheeta.
So it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it would be. I'm not saying we could get more of her on TV necessarily. Well, of course we could, because she's not on it at all. TV wise, she's on YouTube. She's not on TV, and she pops a certain audience as well. So like all those Stardom fans and all the Joshi fans, TJPW fans, and all the Joshi promotions, like they know about Emi. They might tune in if they give her a cool feature match. So yeah, man, it's, you know, I get that she's helping out behind the scenes. I feel like she could even probably contribute even more behind the scenes, and also, you know, let's throw her on TV a little bit. Obviously, there's not a lot to say about her, but moving on, there is to say about Jade. So, Jade, obviously, Jade Cargill is, you know, she's probably got the highest ceiling in all of wrestling right now. She's that big of a potential star. She is on TV pretty much every episode, but it's what they do with her. It's like, even if Marina feud, it's like, it's just pre-tape, backstage match. Like, I want to see big angles, you know what I mean? Like, Jay's cutting a promo and fucking, you know, Marina takes out 5 security guards, gets to her in the ring. You know what I mean? Like that, these big, cool angles that you get for the men like MJF, CM Punk, etc., etc. Go ahead, Jay Show.
Before Sammy, Scorpio was the TNT champion, right? And we saw him have this long, drawn-out feud with Sammy throughout all of his open challenges and things like that. But we don't see that for the woman. We don't see a story with bones. Like, the Marina thing was here today, gone tomorrow, because Marina wasn't even wrestling on Dynamite. She had one Rampage match last week, the week before, whatever, and that was the most that we saw from her. Otherwise, we just see her on Dark. Oh no, she had a Dynamite match against Sky Blue, right? But we don't see these people before they even challenge for the title. When they come into the title picture, we see them then. But how are these fans really going to know that this person is a credible challenger if they're just stuck on Dark? People will watch Dark, but if your rankings are like you've beat 5 people who nobody knows.
When I saw last night that Marina Shafir was ranked number 2 in the whole women's division, I was like, how? No one's seen a wrestle on TV before. That's insane. It's insanity. It is insanity. And to go to Jay Show's point, like, yes, some people do watch Dark. Like I said, I watch it sometimes. But, you know, come on, like, if you're gonna have a title challenger, like, we need to have them at least winning on TV once, or at least once, you know. Like, Well, at least once or twice, should I say, because she did beat Sky Blue. But you know, it's like Sky Blue. Like when she beat, was Sky Blue on TV or was it Dark?
It was TV. It was TV.
It was okay. So
it was Dynamite.
Okay, so she beat Sky Blue on Dynamite.
Section.
So it's not like it's like okay. So she did get a win on TV, but it's like if you're gonna have her get wins against people of that caliber, because you know it's not like Sky Blue's protected or anything. She probably would need to rack them up to get a title shot, not just, you know, if she was going to win one match on TV, it should have been against someone who we see on TV, like a Bunny or someone like that. You know what I mean? Not just a, you know,
Red Velvet would have made sense because she was in the baddie section. Now that they have to use that to their advantage.
There you go. It's like I said, they just didn't. You know, a few pre-types and throwing her out there for a cold match was rough because when they were making their entrance, when Marina made her entrance, there was not a lot of noise. Jade made her entrance and obviously she got a pop. The match started pretty quiet from a crowd perspective. It did pick up at certain points. I don't know how much of that was edited in, edited out. There was certain moments where the crowd definitely did pop, like Jade's pump kick on the outside. But like I said, it's like the match could have had so much more juice to it, especially if they're going to throw it on the main event of Rampage.
It could have even been Battle of the Belts or like Dynamite or just a pre-taped match on Rampage. Yeah, and I'm tired of hearing that like, oh, they highlight these women in these positions. Well, these matches have no substance behind them. We saw Jade talk about Marina for like 3 weeks? And all Marina said was, solve my problem. Dude, what? Like, that's not going to work.
We need, we just need, with Jade, especially because that's who we're on right now, we need real angles with some meat to them, especially for a star of that caliber with the potential that she has.
Championship. They've
exactly.
title so much.
So, you know, it's like, she's got the TBS championship. I think she's defended it on TBS like once. So it's you know, it's like I said, we just need some more real angles with meat on them, and then, you know, if Tony's waiting for that to just miraculously pop up before he starts featuring them prominently on Dynamite, because I think that's the problem with the women's division. It's like, yeah, they do get featured and stuff like that, but it's like we want them prominently with stuff to connect with and angles with meat, and you know,
that's what I was trying not to say it. That's all that it is. What's going on is that they're watching social and they're seeing what the fans are clamoring for, and they're basically going, here. That's it. That's all that it is. It is there, and that goes back to my original issue with AEW's women's division. There is no investment. It's literally just diversity checkmark bookings when it comes to the women, especially. Now, if you are a white man over there, you about to get the storyline of a lifetime. But that is the problem, to where I want AEW to do well because I'm a fan of competition. I love seeing two bad bitches go at it. I love it. So I want them to do well. I don't want them to sink. But if you're just doing things for the sake of saying that you did it, you're going to lose what you could potentially be doing. Like, you're going to keep your core hardcore fan base that cries every time you say AEW fucked up something. But for the casuals, you're going to start losing that because there's no investment to it, and they got to fix that.
Definitely. It's kind of like, you know, that kind of sums up a lot for the division, because we'll keep going to that as we go through it. So like on the list, I've got Jamie Hayter. You know, like she's mixed in with Britt Baker, so I guess there's something there, and obviously she's going to be
that Tony thing. I really like that. I hope they actually put some investment into that, because I feel like that match will be one of the standouts of the division.
Yeah, definitely.
Crowning match in AEW.
Hopefully, we hope. You know, so, and obviously like Tony's booking since she's came in, it's been a bit, you know, like when other free agents have came in, it's felt like they've felt more prominent. You know what I mean?
They're men.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Did I say men free agents? But that's what I meant anyway. When they signed the big free agents on the male side. What was that?
We're gonna get to Ruby Soho soon, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm just trying to blitz through it because we're 120 in and we're halfway through the AEW division, and
yeah, that's crazy.
So
they don't need to sign no more people. I'm watching the chat.
That's what I mean. So they have got the names there, man. Like I'm looking at them here. They've got whether it's a name that isn't there yet but has a really high ceiling, like a TJ, or whether it's women who are already there, like a Jamie Hayter, Ruby Soho, except Deeb, Shida, Riho, etc., etc. Like they have solid talent. And let's be honest, I think Joe's alluded to this on Late Night Green on shows that I've done with him, that if Tony doesn't feel like he has the talent on the roster, there's countless names out there that well, not countless, but there is a good handful of names out there that he could use to bolster up the division. It's like Hogan's not full-time. Hogan's on like a tier deal. She's a very solid talent. Like I know she's on TV at the moment. Hopefully they do make her all elite because, like I said, she's just a very solid talent. Athena's legitimately like world class.
Do they deserve Athena right now? No.
It's not about deserve. It's just like, if you want to add more talent to the division, if that is a problem in Tony's eyes, then it's like. They're out there. You've got Athena, you've got Nixon, you've got Yim, Taya, Masha's signed to Impact, I believe.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's on.
Mickie is technically a free agent, I think. Obviously, she's mainly using Impact, but like, she just does what she wants. I'm sure if AEW,
WNWA, like
that's what I mean. I'm sure if AEW came to her and threw a bag at her and was like, "Let's really,
Willow.
Yeah, I've got her here as well. Trisha Dora, Willow, and even Sky Blue as well. Like she's not on the roster page, but she's someone that the crowds pop for and like. Do you know what I mean? She might have been who
signed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's the same as Hogan, really, but like let's make it official. But yeah, there's especially those first few that I named: Athena, Nixon, Yim, Taya. Like, come on, they're out there if they want to use them. So I feel like the whole talent excuse that some AEW fans use is, I always like to try and listen to other people's perspective or anything, but that is something that I genuinely think is like completely invalid. Because, like I said, they have got a good talent on the roster currently, and there is talent out there available for them if they want to add even more, experience, good. Strong talent, so it's all out there. And I think if we jump real quick into, do you want to quickly go over Ruby, or I was going to transition straight into Impact.
Okay, poor Ruby. I feel I feel really bad for her because they had no plans for her when she signed. She signed and she was, I bet, really excited about being in the company and probably still is, but she's like mostly on Dark now because they don't have more than one match for the women. And if they had at least two matches on Dynamite, or at least one match that isn't under 5 minutes, then Ruby would get over like she should have when she came in.
Yeah, it's a lack of opportunity for women to really get themselves over and do cool things, cool angles, longer matches, etc., etc., etc. So I don't like when people point score and say, "Oh, well, there was 3 women segments on this show." It's like those women segments were all 30 seconds each. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, so out of those 3 women or 6 women, if each of them contain 2, none of those women are really getting like an actual genuine opportunity to get over. Do you know what I mean? You have to be a real
impactful.
Yeah, it's like especially with AEW, it's like there is only there's such a small handful of talent that can really like make a sting with 30 seconds. You know what I mean? So like Ricky Starks last night, he had like 10-second promo. Calls Keith Lee and Swerve a broke-ass Keenan and Cal, and that's what I mean. That's someone who can genuinely use 30 seconds. Do you know what I mean? If you're just doing his boring pre-tapes, it's just you get what you get when the 2 women go out there and it's cold. Then what do you know? There's no hot angles.
Let's just keep it a buck. Like, this is really what's going on here, and it's just a fact. The same thing that people tried to berate WWE with doing, with far as hoarding talent, right? AEW is doing the same thing. They have a humongous roster. They just sign people to sign them. They have about maybe 4 independent promotions in catering right now. Like, the people that are in catering could throw 4 shows for separate promotions. Let's just be real. And what's going on is that you have so many people that you cannot give everybody TV time. That's just business 101, right? So what I'm trying to figure out is, y'all need somebody that's going to help y'all organize and prioritize what needs to be on TV. We don't need Tay and Sammy every week. We don't need that shtick every week. We don't need to see Adam Page every week. And I love Adam Page. We don't need to see him. Give us some time to miss him. Give us some time to kind of pull back a little bit so we can miss the people that we love, and introduce us to some of the people that you have in the back. All of these powerhouse bookings that you have, let us enjoy it. But because there's no organization, no real prioritization outside of people who came from New Japan, you know what I mean? And that's just a fact. And that's not criticizing AEW because I dislike them. It's I want y'all to win. Y'all got to change some shit. And you given too much, honestly, of the same thing, and trying to like squeeze the last little bit of shit in there. Like, oh well, we did it. We like, don't give me sprinkles of women. Like, give me something to invest in. They don't do that, and that's why I'm letting y'all have this AEW conversation, because I can't. I can't.
Yeah, like with the AEW women as well. It's like, I hate to do the whole AEW WWE like straight up comparisons, but so like when Thunder won when Thunder Rosa won the world title, and they done that whole, the whole Nyla Rose Vicky thing, like we don't have to get too much into that. It was bad,
right.
It was bad. Everyone got onto them about it. Even AEW's biggest fans were like, yeah, this was bad. But it was so funny to see the contrast between like how WWE done it with Bianca. So like they let Bianca go out there and have her title winning promo, you know what I mean? And she done the whole thing with the black eye and stuff like that. But like, they let her go out there and, present herself as a champion, and that was them presenting her properly as a champion. Let her go out there and let her have her 10-minute shine, So yeah, that was only like a few days between each other. I think it might have even been the same week, and it was just like, it was really damning on AEW in that regard, because it's just like, like that is like when WWE's kind of like showing you how to do it, like you're doing something wrong,
and that's saying something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if WWE are showing you up in that regard, in pretty much 2 women in pretty much the same position, like they've just won the world title on a big pay-per-view. Obviously Bianca's was on WrestleMania, so it has a little bit more juice to it, but your 2 top women have just won the world title,
2 baby faces,
and this was what I mean, and this was, both segments were meant to be their title celebrations, and like Bianca had one, Thunder Rosa didn't. And it wasn't even like, it wasn't even so much that Vicky and Nyla got involved with it. It was like they didn't even let her get to the ring or anything. You know what I mean? It was literally, the whole thing was like a 2-minute segment, and it was just like, oof. But like I said, there's no point getting into
who they let cut in ring promos. I can't really think of anybody else who cuts a promo in ring besides like Sammy and Ty, but that's something completely separate. But everybody else is at the ramp.
It's like I said, it's really tough with but I think we can get to Impact. With Impact, we're not going to go through them one by one, especially with me on here, because that wouldn't be the smartest thing to do. But I think it's fair if we've got people that, let's highlight some of their main names. So to start with, we'll start with Deonna, nice and easy. Obviously, she was one of their aces for a minute. We'll get to who I know you want to get to, JSL. We'll probably save her for last.
Okay.
We'll save her for last because she's a special
I
one.
like most of the women in this division, actually. I don't have as many qualms.
It's a small division, but when you look at it, there is some talented names in here. There's some names that I haven't seen much of as well, but Deonna Purrazzo, like we all know that she's pretty good, man. Like she is good, and when they were treating her as the women's ace, like she did carry that very well. It's not like she was disgracing the company or anything. Like she carried that very well. People were, a champion, especially in Impact, is doing well when people start booking them in dream matches and stuff like that. People fantasy booking Impact talent, they're doing something right if that happens, because Impact kind of has this kind of stink to it on the online community anyway. So yeah, Deonna's solid, man. I don't really have any.
Deonna is the best out of their best friend group, the Britt, Chelsea, Deonna. I think she's the best out of all of them, and she has the character work to back it up.
I think I agree, to be honest. I think I really like Deonna. I think she's very solid. Like if I was starting a women's division, she would probably be, one of the probably not literally one of the top three, but she'd be up there of women that I'd choose.
And she's working a lot too. She's doing indies. Yeah. She has obviously RH Women's Champ, AAA.
Yeah. Someone I wanted to more ask about is because I know pretty much anyone watches Impact more than me at this point.
Oh God.
What is Giselle Shaw like?
Oh, she's actually really good. She's from the UK. She was in Progress. I think she might be one of their champions over there.
Not excited for the UK.
Pump my fist a little bit.
But she's the quintessential diva. She's feuding kind of with Lady Frost.
Okay.
She's pretty strong. If you would imagine the style of not a Liv Morgan, but like a Liv Morgan mixed with a Mickie James. Like she has the athletic ability, but she's also a veteran, and she has like the veteran mindset when she wrestles.
Yeah. So there's Giselle. Then it feels like they've made a couple nice signings recently. So you've got Lady Frost, who I'm sure she was a recent one.
Shout out Froster.
Yeah. We got Lady Frost was signed recently, and they also signed Masha Slamovich recently as well. I think that's two solid signings for literally any division.
And they treat Masha good too. Masha just does squashes right now, so they're building her. I think she's probably well, she's a heel, so they got a little bit of time on her since Tasha's a heel too. But I think after they have a champion between Tasha, maybe Lady Frost actually, then I think it would be Masha. Yeah. Or Taya though. Taya's there now too, so that.
Of course. I've just got Taya as well, so it's like that. Like I said, 3 signings that would fit in. They wouldn't look out of place in any division anywhere, to be honest.
I just want to say, like, I don't think Impact gets enough credit for what they're doing.
Yeah.
I will say, as far as consistency, as far as innovation, as far as storyline, Impact has been killing it for a while. They just don't have the platform that the AEW or the WWE has, and I think that they handled their women's division probably better than most.
They have a pay-per-view tonight, by the way, guys.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, they did Rebellion.
Yeah,
Rebellion. Yeah.
Mate, no, when I was tweeting my polls earlier, like I'll get to the results of them at the very end, but like a lot of people were putting over Impact, like a lot of people. So it was nice to see that they got some of the credit, but like Lovely said, like they don't really get their flowers in that regard, because I was talking to a couple friends about it. Impact, like, even though necessarily like a lot of it isn't for me, but like when it comes to the women's division, like it's very, very clear to see that they do put a lot of attention.
They have Gail Kim.
Yeah, they put attention, and they do put the attention in, like whether the execution. Yeah, that's what I mean. They care. They put the attention. Yeah, and whether the execution may not be for me every time, but at least they're trying. You know what I mean? They're trying to push through, and it's
everything's not for everybody, and that's okay. And I don't want that to be a thing, that everything isn't for everyone. As long as you can look at it objectively and subjectively, to where you can understand what the appeal is. The reason why Impact's knockout division is so consistent is because they have people that actually have that investment in what the women's representation looks like. And that's the missing key from other promotions, WWE included. Sometimes they don't care. But I want the Knockouts division to get more of the platform that some of these other companies have, because they have been consistent. Consistency is always key, and Impact does not get the right just due when it comes to that. So that roster that they have for the women, I'm like Jay Shell. I don't really have any bad feelings about anyone on that roster as far as the women are concerned.
They've got so obviously one of the obvious standouts would be Jordan Grace.
Oh, I love
her.
Oh my God.
Most people do. Like the consensus is that she, everyone likes her.
She works she's great stuff too, which is like Impact has that over other promotions too, that they let their women do intergender stuff. Chelsea has done some too, but that definitely is a plus for them.
How's Grace's booking been? Because obviously, like
she's
I said,
feuding with Cardona. Yeah. She was the digital media champ, and W Morrissey just put Cardona through a table, and she's kind of feuding with Chelsea Green now.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, she's in like a feature feud at the moment.
Yeah. Her booking is always pretty solid.
Yeah.
Okay.
And her match quality is up there too.
When I was looking at the roster, I was somewhat surprised to see that the what they're called now, the Inspiration, they've dropped the title belts to the tag title belts to the Influence, which sounds like, the Walmart. The Influence sounds like, I thought it was a rib, like
the Wish version of the.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So obviously, I don't know what's going on there, but it seems
they're very similar tag teams, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah. Ever since the Iconics Inspiration came into Impact, it always felt like they were on TV a lot, getting used somewhat prominently. So
they're working their strengths. We were talking about that with other people, is that they're not playing into their strengths. I think that they play into the Inspiration strengths like perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not like anyone who's a fan of the Inspiration isn't expecting them to go out there and have like 5-star matches every pay-per-view.
Right.
Oh yeah.
People just want to see like, Jesse be funny on the mic or some shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it's good to hear that they are actually, playing to these women's strengths, because there is definitely something there with the Inspiration, and if they got lost on the indies, I don't think it would have been very beneficial to them, because like I said, they're not really like, they're not, hardcore workers or anything like that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And they wanted
it's a nice fit.
Division, so they have that at Impact. Yeah.
Obviously, we can talk about. We'll talk about Mickie. We'll talk about Mickie next.
Mickie is a pioneer in that division.
Yeah, Mickey's.
You do no wrong.
Mickey's Mickie. Yeah, there's genuinely like I like the ones like Mickie where it's positive, but there isn't a lot to say.
Yeah.
Like Mickie. Like we all love Mickie.
She's had amazing matches there too that didn't get enough like credit. Like the Texas Death match with Deonna was great. Her matches with Tasha were great as well.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
I think
I like the matches with Tasha, but the Texas Death match was.
I think the matches with Tasha, the reason why they were so good was because putting Tasha in the ring with someone like Mickie, it showed people how good Tasha was. Exactly. And if you are in the ring and you can make someone elevated like that, to where now people talk about Tasha as a wrestler now, not just as a tag team with Kiera Hogan, or not just whatever issues were going on with the Sasha Banks thing. Like, they're talking about Tasha Steelz in the same breath as wrestlers now. Yeah. And to me, that's what keeps elevating people like Mickie, because you're not only keeping your consistency and keeping yourself and your legacy, you're amplifying other people's legacy, and you're building that, because she helped Tasha really get accepted by hardcore wrestling fans as a wrestler. And to me, as someone who loves Tasha, I love that. Like,
yeah, it's amazing.
Mickie can do no wrong. Whatever you say about Mickie, yep, absolutely correct.
That's what I mean. She's an easy one. She's an easy one to go over, because, like I said, she can do no wrong. She's great, and it is what it is. Should we talk about Tenille Dashwood just briefly?
Good for her.
I love her. I love her.
I haven't watched much of her at all, but she's a name that I do see pop up on the timeline quite sometimes. So,
her and
obviously,
Madison Rayne have great chemistry. So
okay, is that who she's feuding with now? Or?
That's the influence.
That's the influence. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I should probably watch a little bit more Impact, but at the same time,
if you watch their pay-per-views, it'll just kind of connect the dots.
That's what I. So my Impact experience right now is I'm pretty. Look, I have a good idea of what talent's over there. Of course, I do watch a majority of the pay-per-views if it's convenient. Sometimes I'll tune into the TVs but it will have to be for a special occasion, like a certain Jay White match that I want to watch, a Chris Bay match that I want to watch. Your favorite Jay White.
Bring Jay White. We were doing so good.
But yeah, like I said, if there's someone that I really like who's having like a featured cool singles match or something, I'll tune in. Whether that's Chris Bay, White,
Chris Bay's on the pay-per-view.
Alexander. Yeah, so they definitely do have some talents, but in terms of like tuning in, week out, so that's not really me. So should we talk a little bit about how the indies treat women?
Yes.
Who are who are like the top indie females at the moment? So obviously for me, actually
Trish Dora's number one.
Hold on. Whoa. Just to finish off Impact, Tasha Steelz, world champion, knockouts champion, another black woman just on top of the game, killing it. We've got an article on the website now, literally, about black women being successful. Tasha Steelz is obviously mentioned in that. It's just great to see women like this on top as well. And it's like, Tasha's legit as well, lovely alluded to. Obviously, the Mickie James feud done a lot for putting her on that level to the point where you could actually see a belt on her like that. That wasn't a tag belt. She's legit, man. She is legit, and she's she's one of their stars that they're in. She's like in process at the moment. Like her stardom's currently rising. She's not the finished product just yet, but there's a lot there with her, and people seem to like her and get behind her as well.
Her pairing with Savannah really works too.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Yeah.
She's they're doing as far as like booking and usage, they're doing a lot of right. They're doing a lot of right by Tasha Steelz at the moment. I think it's fair to say. Yeah.
But it's good to see because you see someone, she's little, but she's a firecracker, all of that stuff, and she's worked her ass off. And to see her not only get to the top of the mountain, but also has gotten that fan approval of proving herself that not only am I good on the mic, like I can do this, like this me. And I love Tasha. I'm sorry, I love Tasha.
Yeah, she's great. She's easy to love, but regardless of whatever, like there's so like people put so much on this in-ring stuff and stuff now, and Tasha Steelz is far from bad. So probably a bad example to bring this point up on, but people just.
You want to talk about Chelsea Green then?
Oh man, she's free agent and she isn't actually signed to Impact this year. She's used prominently on there. She's used prominently on there, but she's
an indie girl.
Yeah, she's an indie girl. So yeah, we'll move on to indies, and obviously we'll start with Chelsea Green because she's obviously in the middle of like indies, Impact. So she's kind of both. It's Chelsea Green. She's always doing something that's gonna pop Twitter. You want to have noticed about Chelsea Green as well. Like she's always doing these interviews and stuff. Like she's very good at getting herself out there, and she's very good at keeping herself prominent on the timeline and all that sort of stuff. As far as the in-ring work goes, she's not bad. I don't think she's amazing or anything like that.
She's fine.
Yeah, she's fine.
But I think she's like Carmella. I don't think you need to be every wrestler doesn't need to be the best wrestler in the whole entire world.
Exactly. Yeah.
Especially with what she does. Like
she has a niche and she stays in her lane.
Yeah.
She stays in
I
her
like
niche
what she does too. I think that like her and Cardona, like after leaving WWE, I feel like their stock rised. Like they went to the indies, they knew their worth, and then they're just proving that to people now. Like, regardless of whether you like them or not, what they're doing with their heel stuff is working.
Correct. And that's what I was going to say. Like, you don't have to necessarily be fans of the people themselves, but if you're a fan of character work, anyone who can make you hate them legitimately as a heel, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Trying to think of any other women indie talent. One, obviously, there's you've got Willow. Yeah, we'll go with Willow. Look at that. We got Jay Shaw grinning ear to ear.
I love Willow.
No, Willow is fantastic.
I go to events just to see
so
Willow.
Infectious. Like she's just so. I'll use the term a lot, but like, she's just
if
easy
God
to love. Like,
made an angel into a pro wrestler, it would be Willow.
But yeah, she's just so. It's hard to put a finger on like exactly how.
She's
like,
everything.
Infectious and stuff. She is like she's so. From the first time you see her, like it's easy. It's so easy to get behind her. Willow's great. Trisha Dora, she's
number one woman in the independent scene. I don't care who you are. I don't care about your list. I don't care about none of that. That woman is the number one women's independent wrestler, bar none, and she's kind of been that for the last year or two. And I don't care who you are. Nobody's topping her in the independent scene. Sorry. You can fight me on it.
Period.
Yeah, Trisha Dora is she's special, man. She's special. It's interesting to see that she hasn't been picked up. But this is why we're having these sort of conversations to talk about, the current state of US wrestling. Other obviously prominent indie female talent would include Ali Catch, which she's very divisive in the sense that like the people who have no interest in GCW anyway, who were never going to watch her anyway, seem to hate her. Then obviously the GCW core audience love her to bits. So yeah, she's pretty divisive. I've not seen too much of her, of course. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I think she's an amazing worker or anything because I don't. But people just love her. Like it's stuff like this fascinates me. So, Jay Shaw, I know you're obviously a fan of Ali Catch yourself, and you watch a lot of GCW shows. So I'll let you kind of take the wheel with this one.
Please take the wheel.
I think my fandom of Ali Catch is hilarious for two reasons. One, it kind of just started with me saying, "Oh, I like her. Like, I like her character. I like her wrestling." And people were like, "Ali is bad. Why do you like what she likes? Like why do you like what she does?" And it just was more so like, okay, well, that's jarring. One, two, I just like her. But regardless of whatever you think of her in ring or whatever, she's incredibly over when you look at these GCW crowds. Like, they love Ali. And she's a very strong case for what a GCW talent could be. Like, you look at her and you look at Effie, even I would say like even a Joey Janela now. Like, they're marked as GCW talents basically. And Hammerstein aside or whatever, I feel like they have put a lot of investment into her now moving forward. She's getting these dream matches and stuff like that. She's not winning them, but
she was never beating Ruby especially when you think of like how Tony books his AEW talent on indie shows.
Like, Mickie beat her as well. And I think that was the Mickie match was actually one of my favorite matches of WrestleMania weekend, funny enough. But Ali understands her lane and she stays in it. She's not there to be a super worker. She's not there to put on a match like ACH. She's not doing that. And we know that from jump. But like, even her match with Jordan Grace, she knows what her niche is and she stays there, and that's why she works for me. Like, even when she does the comedy stuff like she did with Mickie, like the comedy storytelling, it just works.
Yeah, definitely. There isn't too. If there is any other female women's talent that you two want to bring up, or if there's anyone in the chat that has a suggestion for us to talk about anyone from the indie scene, go ahead. The next person I wanted to get to, though, because it's the final suggestion I have for indie women, is Megan Bain. She seems to be getting a lot of.
She's about to be signed.
She's getting a lot of she's getting some momentum going behind her, especially in like the recent, I'd say like 6 months or so. People seem to like her. I haven't seen much of her, but her presentation and her presentation and stuff like that looks incredible. So yeah, I was just obviously was wondering, because you two watch a lot more indies than what I do, so I was just wondering if you've seen much of her. And Jay Shah just mentioned that she's injured, which is obviously unfortunate, but did you get much chance to see her perform before that?
I saw some bits and pieces prior to her injury. Specifically, I saw a lot of her on Dark, and I thought that she was actually a really good fit for that division, because what that division books the most, I'd say, I don't know if it's the best, but it's their powerhouses. So we see like Nyla Rose on TV decently often, whenever there's a new champion. Jade is obviously a powerhouse in their division. Chris Stott also works as a powerhouse. And they have some smaller girls, so the powerhouse thing kind of works over there. But her character work is really good. She stands out when you look at her. Her presentation is really strong. She'll be a really good addition. I think she's pretty young too. I'm not quite sure, but she definitely made a name for herself in my area, like the Mass area. She's from Beyond, so.
Yeah, man. So yeah, we'll get into kind of like the summarizing now that we spoke about all the talent. So we'll go back to
Hold on. Lovely, do you have any more names? You were rubbing your hands earlier.
No, like honestly, if you want to know about anything independent wrestling, it's going to be on my Twitter, because that's where my heart is. My heart is in independent wrestling, and there's so many women, and I'm not shy about where I go when it comes to independent wrestling. My heart is in Black independent wrestling, and that's what I push. That is what I try to highlight, and that is what I try to amplify. So we have the Jocelyn Navarros, we have the Brooke Valentines, we have, of course, like we talked about, Willow, we have the MJ Jenkins. We have so many women that are on the independent scene right now that don't get the eyes that I think those of us with platforms, I want us to amplify more. Like, of course, we have all the guys. The guys are everywhere. But there's a lot of women, and especially women of color, and especially Black women, who have been killing it over the last couple of years and vastly improved. Not just, we're amplifying them because they're Black women. No, we're amplifying Tootie, exactly. Janai Kai. We have so many that have improved in such a short amount of time. You know what I mean? And I want more of that going forward. So I'm not going to take time listing names, because we're going to be here for another 2 hours. I'm not doing that. So
I just want to say one more person, but that's just because she's young. Billy Starks. I know she's very young.
Of course.
Love her to death.
Shout out to Billy. Shout out to Billy's parents.
Yes.
I don't think they get enough credit, because that is a young girl, and those parents make sure that girl is protected at all times. And that baby has put in the work. She is a good kid, and she is shining out here, and you love to see it.
We love Billy.
Yeah, definitely.
She does her own events and stuff too. Crazy.
Just killing it, man. She's just, especially like I said, for her age as well. She's
healed now. Yeah. We love to see it.
So yeah, like with to get to the more summarizing points, even though we are 152 in now.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's all good. It's been free flowing. It's been nice, man. But so what I wanted to talk about is, what does each company do well? Like before we get into the real, like let's give them some, let's give some praise. So we'll start with WWE. I think with WWE, one thing that they do with women is that they do, like, when you look at the segments and segment time and how they're presented, etc., I think it would be fair to say that like the Raw and SmackDown women's champions are pretty comparatively booked like normal, like men's world champions. They get start of show segments, they get big angles, they get this, they get that, they get dream matches when they do like the 4 horsewomen facing each other or stuff like that. They do these big angles and main event feuds and stuff with the women. So I do think that, even though it happened in recent years because, they kind of got their hand forced with the women's revolution and all that sort of stuff, but like they are, they do put attention onto the women's division. And even with the stuff that they don't hit with, they're trying. So like the Charlotte and Ronda feud, it gets a lot of criticisms and it's not hitting for a lot of people, but they're still being presented like a main event feud. Do you know what I mean? So like I said, I think they do get the presentation right a lot. It's just that the actual booking, if that makes sense. So like, you know, it's like the whole a lot of AEW fans especially will point to like Toni Storm, you know. You know, she was in a world title feud and they just kind of embarrassed her. So it's just like it's so weird because like I said, on one hand they've got Bianca and Sasha main event in WrestleMania and nearly fucking putting tears in my eyes. Then on the other hand they've been putting a cream pie in fucking Toni Storm's face. So it's a really weird one WWE is, but like I said, I think that's one of the things that definitely deserve some praise for is that they do make, you know, the women's world titles do get that world title genuine feel about them.
I think they're trying, yes, 100%. They do give the women a lot of TV time. Probably, you know, not as much as we may want, but they do try very hard to implement them in investment worthy stories, right? And I believe that they give the women an amazing platform. And I think WWE does something really well when it comes to the women. They build stars. That is something that they do well. Whether it's the star that we may particularly want at the time or not, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But they do make stars. They create women, or I don't want to say create women. They give the women the opportunity to create stardom and the pathway for themselves to where you want to see them outside of wrestling. You know what I mean? And I think that is something that is very, very good that they do. But also it's WWE. Like when you go to WWE and you're formerly known as from WWE, that automatically gives you some sort of clout and push. But I do see that they have some sort of investment in the women that's positive. It may not always be correct.
Yes.
But it's there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think when they know they have something like that, the Becky Bianca stuff, once we got towards around Elimination Chamber time, they kind of knew that they had to ramp it up a little bit. So when we get to a point like that, they kind of know, okay, this is a big match. We have to treat it as such. And I feel like sometimes the other companies might not hit on that as much when it comes to like, oh, we're booking towards WrestleMania right now. We're booking towards SummerSlam even sometimes. Those matches are supposed to be big. The obviously the Bianca Sasha thing happened and Becky, whatever. But like when we do get to these big feuds, it feels like they get them right majority of the time. I think Charlotte and Ronda is an outlier due to the people that are a part of it. They both have, you know, very polarizing fan bases and characters and things like that. But these other storylines, like even when we did Becky Lita, like that build to that was at least strongly decent, I would say.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
They know, okay, these are the stars in this division and we have to book this correct, but they also need to work on their mid-card stuff a lot more. But
yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, they do some things right. It's just kind of, I think it's more of like their taste for things is just weird. It's just WWE, man. But like I said, at least they do put some shine on the women and put a lot of effort into trying to create the stars, even if it is, you know, even if they do botch that quite a lot. Like I said, it's the effort that it's nice to see. So like AEW, something nice to say about the AEW women's division.
Are you going first?
Beautiful gowns.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try go first.
The women on Dark are good.
And that's
why is it taking you so long?
No, because I'm trying to give a genuine take, you know, like I'm not just gonna sit here and be like, oh well, they've got great talent, you know what I mean? Because like, yeah, they do, but like I want to, you know, try and think of something that they do legitimately.
I'll say this
really well.
I'll say this: what they're allowing Jade to do,
that's what I was gonna say,
is very, very good, because I think that they're allowing her to kind of have creative control over who she is and how she's presented. I love that. I do think putting the title on Thunder Rosa was a very, very good idea. I think it was perfect. Now, what they're going to do afterward, I don't know. Those are my nice things to say about AEW's women's division.
Yeah, mine would probably be the same, to be honest. Is that like it's more of an AEW company-wide thing, but of course it affects the women. But like the creative freedom that the women have on their own characters, which is, it's cool to see. Whether that be, obviously this particular person isn't for me, but you can tell she obviously has a lot of creative input into what she does, and that's Abaddon. Like that shit ain't for me at all. But at least, it's I guess it's cool for her to be able to be on a platform where she can do that. And yeah, she might only get like the Halloween match once a year on TV or something. But it's like I said, when it comes to AEW's women, it's more so positive wise, it's a lot to do with like the freedom with creative for their own characters and stuff like that. How about you, Jay Shell?
I think that they're good at recognizing indie talent. I feel like with Willow, Sky Blue, AQA, they'll bring in the people that they need to. Do they do right by them all the time? No. But I feel like they do know like who the people want in their division. They're in touch with that. They know what the fans want. And like Lovely said, they do give it to us, but it does feel performative. But we get what we want. So yeah. I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's obviously the positives are, like I just have to try really hard to try and find that in the back of my mind. Kind of need a little help from Lovely as well. But yeah, it's, at least we found something in the end. And because I didn't want this to just be like straight up slander, do you know what I mean? Where we're just going ham on AEW. It's just, it wouldn't have been ideal. Lovely, you've put yourself on mute. I don't know if that was intentional.
Yeah, my AirPods died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're
good. So we'll move on now to Impact. Somewhat positive to say about Impact is, a lot of people sleep on Impact in terms of, a lot of people do put over the women's division when you bring up women's wrestling in the US, but outside of that and their own fan bases that they have, it doesn't really go outside of the bubble, which is unfortunate because, as we alluded to earlier in the show, that they do put attention onto that women's division in the same way that we were talking about WWE a couple minutes ago. It's like Impact, like I said, Impact do put a lot of attention and they're never neglecting the women. You know what I mean? Someone said in the chat earlier that I think there's 3 knockout matches on the pay-per-view later. They like this. The Tasha Steelz thing is really a good example, I think, because it's like, come on, like a couple of years ago, it's not like Tasha Steelz was like the hottest indie name on the scene or anything like that, or like she's someone that they've obviously like they've made her. Do you know what I mean? Like they've built her up as a star. Like she's a great talent and everything, and she deserves it. But in terms of momentum coming up to this point, like she didn't really have it as much, and Impact for, like, you know what I mean? Like they willed it through, and now she's world champion, and it doesn't seem out of place. So that, like I said, like they can take a woman and actually put her on a prominent position who you may not have heard of before. I think they're good at doing that. And just like I said, they really do put. You can feel it. You can feel it when you watch it. Like I said, I don't watch a lot of Impact, but that knockouts division, it is pretty close to the men's, in terms of like how the respect and time and effort and, all these things they put into it. So,
Impact, feels like the safest place for women to go. Like if you're looking for the best booking, I would say Impact is the place to go. Like if you look at Ty Valkyrie, obviously, I feel like she's gonna be there and she's gonna feel like she's right back at home. Deanna made her name there after she left WWE. People didn't know really like who's Deanna, what does she have to offer. She made a lot of
opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Same with Tasha. Like even the inspiration, like they wanted tag titles, that's the place to go. Like for lots of free agents, I feel like Impact is the safest place if you care about your creative freedom and your booking.
Yeah, Impact is going to give you consistency, going to give you stability. It's going to make you feel like you are valued as a wrestler, and you, like you said earlier, Monte, you can tell that they care about the representation and the presentation of the women's division over there. And I think the only thing that they're missing is the platform and the viewership. And I really think if more people got behind Impact, you would see some sort of paradigm shift in wrestling, because they're not missing over there. Like, of course, they have some things that could be done better, but they have been consistent. And I said it on Thomas' podcast during the pandemic. I said, Impact is going to be what shake a lot of people up. And lo and behold.
So this is kind of, obviously, I'll let you two speak on this more than me, because I have kind of little to no idea of how it's going. But something positive about how indie promotions as a whole are treating, women's wrestling at the moment. Like, is Trisha Dora main event in these shows that they're doing? Ali Catch is obviously used prominently in GCW. Billy Starks, obviously, I'm not sure where she fits on these cards when she's booked on them. Do you feel like the independent scene is, looking after these women at the moment?
Two things. I believe that the independent scene, that's hard. That's hard. But
it's hard to group them all together.
Yeah. What I will say is, when it comes to the independent scene, you get to see your favorites at their rawest, at their purest, at their still hungry stage. So you get to see them pull out all the stops, and you get your dream matches. That's the beauty of the independent scene, is that you really get dream matches that if they were signed, you probably wouldn't see. You're getting the a match that really shook a lot of people, that they didn't expect to be as good as it was MJ versus Trish, and for the culture. That match was beautiful. So you get to see things like that, you get matchups that you really weren't prepared for, but then you get pleasantly surprised. Now, of course, every promotion themselves have their own, shit with them and could be better. But as a whole, I appreciate the independent scene because of what they represent for us. They allow us to see ourselves in these women. We get to see the rawness of these women. We get to see them doing the intergender, the hardcore matches. You get to see them doing everything just as good, if not sometimes better, than a lot of the men. And I love that.
Yeah,
definitely.
On the indies, I feel like another name that we didn't really mention. Well, we mentioned when we talk about AEW, but not to the indies, is Athena. She's kind of been able to come back to the indies and basically prove who she is again. Like, her match with Swerve was amazing. There was a match that she had with Taya Valkyrie where she took this huge bump on a bunch of chairs.
Onto the chairs.
It was just insane. And they have the freedom to do stuff like this. And obviously Athena is going to be booked at another level than a Billy Starks would be, rightfully so. But there's different tiers, I would say, within how these women are booked. And I think a lot of the times it's fair. It's based on their experience, how much they could draw, all of those things. Whereas when you look at a major company, it might just be based on favoritism or who has the best connections.
Yeah, I think it's with Athena as well. It's she's, like I said, she's world class. I think the match that she had with Rosa at Warrior Wrestling, I think it was the 30-minute draw that they had. That's genuinely one of the best women's matches I've seen in at least in the US. That is probably either that or Bianca versus Becky at Mania. Probably the best women's match I've seen in the US this year. Yeah, man, she's something special. Athena is. She really is.
And we forget Mia Yim's back too. So they had I think Athena and Mia Yim just had a match not too long ago for Mania weekend too.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're getting. I told people before, this is like the Renaissance era of in wrestling, to where the independent scene is giving you more than what you're getting on TV.
Yeah.
And if more people kind of invested in the independent scene a little bit more, we could see more of that. So where people don't feel like they have to be signed in order to be fulfilled and successful and happy.
Yeah.
Another really great talent on the indies who's younger is Sandra Moon. She's from, I think, the LA, Las Vegas area. Very, very strong. She does some GCW LA fight stuff as well, but she works intergender and she's badass.
Shout out to Dark Sheik too. Let me just
cheeky
baby, okay. Yes, for sure.
I'd say
And
so like to get
as well.
into. So we'll try not to be too. We're not going to try to do too much slander on the companies.
Oh God.
But we'll try to be honest. So we'll point out something that each company does bad with their booking of women, usage of women, etc., etc. Obviously, we've been starting with WWE, so we'll start with WWE on this too. I think obviously we touched on it a lot when we was talking about the talent. One of the biggest things I have with WWE and their booking of women is these women like Rhea, Liv, etc. That you can tell they just don't get it. They don't get them. You know what I mean? And there's like a weird disconnect between their booking and what we want to see them do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it feels like women are getting held down. Like when the amount it was really telling how many people were behind Liv Morgan to win the belt off Becky a few months ago. Then like after that was finished, she kind of just plateaued.
That's what I was gonna say. Is the consistency thing? Is like staying her on a star. Like even Bianca, Naomi, Shayna Baszler after she challenged for the Raw title back at WrestleMania in the pandemic when she should have won, but like regardless, even Asuka, like Bayley after she lost the title was inconsistent. Like they're hot on somebody for a while and then they just have nothing for them. Like even Rhea after she lost the title. Like it just always happens. Obviously there's going to be a jump if you lose the title, but like it shouldn't be a drastic drop like it normally is.
No,
yeah,
100%.
Definitely.
Consistency for me is the issue with WWE, and they kind of do the kind of ADHD booking sometimes, to where it's just kind of like all over the place a little bit. But I think finishing storylines before we go somewhere else, consistency with the women, and getting women and probably kind of younger people in the creative room, because these wrestlers, I'm older than most of these wrestlers right now, and that makes me want to cry. So I think you need to change the creative room with the sign of the time to fit storylines that fit the stars that you're housing.
Yes, definitely.
And their promos too. Liv could be such a good promo. They just give her this like generic stuff that like and Aaliyah sits there and reads off a script. Like she has a script in front of her and she's doing a promo.
Yeah,
like,
it's great. It's mad as well. Like the crazy thing with the scripts is that like some of these people just aren't made at all to read scripts, and they still just force it through. But yeah, the scripting is definitely another thing that's a real pain when talking about WWE's women. But we'll move on to AEW. My main problem with AEW is, to sum it up in like, it's not complete neglect, but it's dangerously close. Like we can't call it complete neglect because there is women on the shows and stuff and blah blah blah. But there is a so clear difference between the attention given to the men's division compared to the women's division. And I get in your men's division, you do have your CM Punks, your Bryan Danielsons, Kenny Omega, etc., etc., etc. And it's hard. It's always going to be hard, especially like people in AEW have said themselves, like, we've got a lot more men than we have got women, and it's blah, blah, they try to use that kind of way of angling it, but it's just
Jay Shell can't take.
She can't say. It's just I know Jay Shell struggles with this a lot. But
okay,
I think for me anyway, my thing is lack of attention. Lack of attention is what I'm going with.
I just want to like it so bad.
I'll just say, like I said before, they need to get people in that creative room that actually care about the women's division and how they're presented and the storylines within it. I'll let Jay Shell go and do her thing.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jay Shell. I'm sure you've got a lot to get off your chest.
I talk about this on every show. Every show I'm on, I always have to talk about the women's division because it's so aggravating. Their standards for the men in the men's division and their booking is so high that you would at least expect the women's division to semi-rise to that occasion. Like, their matches, there was literally the 5-minute challenge with Serena Deeb on Rampage for like 6 weeks, and they were having matches under 5 minutes for 6 weeks. Like the matches were going 1 minute, and I'm just like, why are you even putting them on TV then? This is just a segment. This is not even a match, and they just do it so that they can't get called what WWE used to be, basically. Like they
diversity check marks. That's what
they literally just. And even if they do bring in like a Maria Kanellis, who Tony has said he only really wants to use for Ring of Honor, dude, like I need some self-awareness. I feel like there's a lack of self-awareness going on that like doesn't let him understand what's actually happening and how bad this actually is. Like this is bad. Their women's division their booking is bad. Like it's criminal. And there's so many
That's
people
the thing.
That I like.
It is actively getting to the point where it's actively bad.
Getting
Like
worse.
that go home angle for Rosa and Nyla was
it's
like
going down. And you would think at year 3 we're kind of like seeing some improvement, but once I'm just like, babe, I get it that you're a billionaire and you're basically just purchasing your favorite action figures at this point and just playing in the play ring. That's what the booking is with AEW. Literally. Honestly, is a man with all the money in the world purchasing his favorite action figures and just kind of playing with dolls, kind of.
He's playing
and
CW.
It's sad.
That's literally what's happening.
It's sad because you have all the talent in the world, and I think Anthony, Bartholomew, whatever he wants to be called, he needs to identify that booking-wise, okay, I probably do need some help. And it's okay, because that's going to keep you going, because this is sad.
Women can draw so much too that like
Thunder Rosa and Jade Cargill, like they can draw money, like Jade prints money literally. And Thunder, with her heritage on her back like that, and as good as she is, like it doesn't. You have Ruby Soho. What are we doing? So, and I know that there's a lot of AEW stands in the chat and probably watch it back later. Hey, guess what? I don't care. Y'all can say whatever y'all want to say about me because you can't whoop my ass. So I don't care how you feel about it. They need help when it comes to booking the women, and they need help when it comes to booking the men of color too. So it's not just the women that they struggle with. If you are not a Caucasian male at AEW, your booking needs some help. I'm sorry, but it's the truth, and it's not the race card. It's none of that. It's a fact. And it's only because there is no personal investment in those demographics at the head of the table.
There's always the thing about like, well, AEW already has the stars. They already have the CM Punks and the John Moxleys. Well, when are we going to get to the point where they're making their own stars, especially with the women? Like, we cannot just continue to like be like, okay, sweep this under the rug, because you're in year 3 now.
They've made one.
Stars.
They made one.
To build stars now.
Like, you're so close. Thunder Rosa's right there. Like, just give her a little bit more. Jade needs a little bit more time. Obviously, she's still new, but like the progress you made with fucking Ty Conti. Okay, I'm getting upset. The progress you made with Ty Conti, you threw it away. But why did we do that?
That Ty's her story is so infuriating because she was the star that they could have made.
Yes,
but because of the Paige Alberto effect that has happened, they have focused more on the controversy as opposed to building her as a star. They did not need to put them on TV together. We don't give a damn about that. We don't care.
And to all the Sammy and Ty defenders, get the fuck out of my mentions. I am tired. I am tired. I cannot do it anymore. No, just like
y'all got my niece cursing. I can't deal.
Okay. It's rough.
But y'all can come to my mentions though. I'm worried about you. You can come to me. Cause I'm gonna meet you where you at. That's still a young lady, but you come to holler at me with it, because I'm gonna meet you where you at. I promise you, your feelings gonna be hurt. Messing with me, don't come this way.
Can you bring up the last comment, MVP, please?
MVP.
What one? MJ.
Oh yeah, I call him MVP.
Oh,
Tell
I
Montavious
was
Porter.
like, why? Why?
Which comment, JJ? Which one?
The MJF and Paige and Hangman one. The thing with the male stars is that they have the 4 pillars already, and they did the Hangman thing, and they know what they're doing with the white men. You know, they got that on lock. It's the women's division and the women's stars. Like, they have such a huge get in Anna Jay right now. She's so young. They can mold her to be their style. You know how they have like the NXT 2.0 for WWE and they just make all the women into their style? That's what they have in Anna Jay. Like, you can develop her, even Jade. Like, you can develop these women to be exactly what you want in a wrestler, and you're still not doing that. Like, you have the people who are brought in as stars and you don't utilize them correctly, and you have the people who you can make into stars and you don't utilize them correctly. So what are we like?
What are we doing?
Nothing. Playing with house money is what they're doing. And we've already established that AEW knows what they're doing with the Caucasian men on the roster. So MJF and Adam Page, that's really not who or what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the fact that you have 32,662 people on your roster, and those are the 2 stars that you created.
Yeah,
that's saying a lot.
So yeah, it's the lack of attention, and just I think that's kind of like it all boils down to. It's just the lack of attention, lack of wanting to make new stars and making us feel that. But yeah, it's tough, man, with AEW's women's division. I think we all want it to do well as well. It's not like we don't get any joy in the women's division being where it's at now. We're not like some of these WWE fans who are like, oh yeah, point scoring. Like especially with Jay Shaw, like he actively bums her out. Like, yeah. So it's it's tough. But moving on to a positive, Impact Wrestling. When a negative thing to think about for Impact Wrestling.
They just need a platform.
Just I was going to say, lack of exposure. And that's obviously just a company-wide thing. It's not necessarily directed at the women. It's just straight up lack of exposure. Obviously, the talent list could probably be a bit. It could be a bit more. It could have more depth to it because it is quite a short list of women.
Stuff going on.
Sign Athena.
That would help them a lot. I would rather see her in AEW.
I think Mia Yim's going there too.
That's what I said. Mia Yim, Athena. If everybody don't need to go to AEW once they leave WWE. You ain't got to do that. It's other places that they can go. And if you help build something for people to want to watch, that's how you build the platform. That's how you build the sponsorships. That's how you build the funding. A lot of fans don't understand business. Y'all just want to have this beef, this East Coast, West Coast beef, Biggie Pac beef between WWE and AEW, forgetting these are millionaires and billionaires, something that y'all don't know nothing about. Like, they ain't on the phone talking to each other. They watching each other's programming. You don't think Jade them saw that kick that Lash Legend gave Nikita? Y'all have to stop this. Stop. These people are not in your tax bracket, okay? They friends. They not your uncles. They are friends.
Stuff is bad.
This shit about to piss me off. Now I feel like you, Jay Shell. Now I'm getting mad. And you know when I get mad, it goes different.
All right, so to kind of like tie all this up, because I was gonna go into another thing where we would kind of like look at what they can do better, but we kind of touch on that by saying what they don't do. Yeah. So it's just like rewind it 5 minutes and just same stuff. But to finish, I'd like to rank the 4 companies. Well, one of them would just be the Indies / GCW. But let's rank the 4 companies in order of who is doing the most right by women's wrestling at the moment.
On the Twitter? You're gonna get me slandered on the Twitter.
Nah, you'll be fine.
Come to my DMs if you have a problem with Jay.
You'll be fine. I think I'll go first.
Okay.
I'd probably go. Funnily enough, I'd probably go WWE. Platform is a lot to do with that, probably. Mm-hmm. You know, like they can do things like put Bianca in the main event of WrestleMania 2 years in a row and shit like that. Then I'd probably go Impact. And the only reason why they're behind WWE is probably platform, because, like I said, they do really try to bring the women up to the same level as the men. Like actively, I feel it, and I hardly ever watch the product, so they must be doing something right in that regard. Then obviously it's it's hard to pick between the two because I don't really watch Indies or GCW, but I'd probably put them kind of on the same level as AEW, to be honest. It's unfortunate because AEW could so easily be number one by some distance.
There's such a big gap.
They could be number one by far. Like if they really, if it's crazy. But I was thinking about it the other day. It's like it's almost like AEW need a women's revolution, and they're only 3 years in.
We're gonna have to get a hashtag.
Crazy. It's crazy. And they're only 3 years in. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, like I said, WWE, Impact, AEW, and the Indies, etc. They're kind of, because obviously with the Indies, it's like I see some that do really well by women, then there's some that you don't even see them on the cards and shit. So it's like, it would be hard for me to put the Indies above AEW, even though there is a lot of problems I have with AEW's women's division. But
the thing with the Indies is there are all women shows, though. There are shows that highlight just the women.
Yeah, there was one this weekend.
Yeah. But who wants to rank next?
I'll do it because it's real.
Go on.
WWE solely because of platform and consistency. Longevity, I'll say that. Impact. And I'm going to put the Indies, and I don't really like people saying independent / GCW because okay, they cool. There's other shit out there. But, and no shade to Brett, what up, nigga? But, so, like, I put GCW over AEW for this reason. Because AEW has the platform and they have the finances and they still don't do shit. Yeah. At least the indie scene tries, and they give them their own shows. They give them dream matches. They give them things to invest in these women, and they try to show the growth of the women. I think that what AEW needs to do, how they got AEW Dark on YouTube? Give us a women's show on YouTube to give people the opportunity to meet these people.
Actual matches too.
These people.
Please.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course.
With storyline. Make a YouTube channel or show for the women to kind of make it like almost your NXT. If you're going to do Dark.
Ring of Honor's Women's Division Wednesday, where they would have Wednesday and they would have a full show of women's booking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so we can do it.
You want to give us your ranking then, Joe? Sure.
My number one's actually Impact. And I can see why you guys would put WWE over because of the platform and stuff like that. But I feel like it's so valuable to actually have a company where the women and the men feel like they're on the same level and they're presented on the same. I really value that. I think after that, I would go WWE. Obviously, they have the platform and they have the ability to put on these huge matches and make them feel super important. Then I would go the Indies. Just because of like the ability to do the dream matches and the women's only stuff. I think even NWA doing that Empower show was incredibly impactful, even though it didn't, sell too much or whatever. You want to talk about that or all that stuff? I feel like it still, was very strong. Especially since Mickie James was, a part of that and booking that. Yeah. And then I would just go AEW at the end. My expectations for what that could have been is so high. And there's such a huge opportunity. And even the Diva stands. I used to be a Diva stan. I could speak for them. They don't want to watch because the women aren't being presented correctly. There's so much more of a market if you are focusing on the women's division as well.
It's a whole market.
The WWE fans, I don't understand why. Samoa Joe, how many more viewers is he really going to bring in?
No. Let's all calm down.
No.
Samoa Joe wasn't the name that you should have brought up on this show.
We could have
someone else. You could have said Adam Cole.
Okay,
you could have said anyone.
Fine.
You could have said Jonathan Gresham. Hell, you could have left Joe out of this. I said
okay, fine. I love Samoa Joe. I have nothing against him. I was just using him since he was a recent signing. But we can use Adam Cole if we really want to, okay?
Everybody off the brakes on Joe.
I'm not asking for heat. I'm literally just saying, regarding all of these signings, it's targeting the same audience. And it's
I get your point. What the hell?
But looking in the sense of business, you want to grow and you want to continue to bring in more people. CM Punk obviously is going to bring in more viewers, but signing up Tony Nese, fine. Is no complaints against Tony Nese?
Well, he's good, but
he's good, but
he's better for your point.
Yeah, he paints the narrative better. Control your own narrative, Jay Shell.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus Christ. There's more. Do they book? I feel like they would book the woman better than AEW would. There's women in that promotion. There's Sarah Logan or whatever, right?
Girl.
Wrestles there.
No, let's
your Samoa Joe to take.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's our rankings. What I want to do quickly before
let me say that.
Go on.
No, just don't support that promotion. That's all I want to say. I was just saying that.
We were joking.
Right. Quickly, just before I get off, I'll give the results to the polls that I tweeted because I did get quite a few thousand votes.
Oh, so shout out Mission Pro. Support Mission Pro.
The first poll I did was what company has the best female talent in the US. WWE won that by just completely, it wasn't even close. They got 64% of the votes. AEW got 18% of the votes. Impact got 12% of the votes, and the Indies got 5% of the votes. So in terms of the talent on the roster, it seems like the consensus is that WWE has the best by quite a big mark.
I actually have a question for you. I have multiple questions.
Okay, so the next poll I did was which company in the US books their women the best. WWE won that one too, but it was a lot more narrow. So WWE got 41%, Impact got 32%, AEW got 17%, and the Indies got 10%. So yeah, again, another win for WWE in that regard. But of course, with the platform they've got, Impact being that close to them, 9% difference, that is that's really telling for how strongly Impact put their women. So when you consider it, really, you'd probably say Impact won that, although they didn't technically. But like I said, a lot more people watch WWE than Impact.
I also think it's interesting that a lot of that is probably word of mouth. I'm guessing that everybody who voted for Impact there probably doesn't even really watch weekly programming from Impact, but it's kind of just word of mouth that that promotion is where to go for women's wrestling.
Yep.
Yeah. And finally, which US company books their women the worst? AEW won this by not as huge as a difference as the earlier WWE poll, but it was quite a large margin. So AEW got 51% of that vote. WWE got 34% of the vote. And the Indies got 9%. And Impact got even less than the Indies, which is good. They got 6%. So it really does seem like the Impact Women's Division, like judging from these results, other than the fact that WWE has all the talent and they won that poll by so much, it seems like the consensus is that Impact do a lot of right by their women. JSL obviously had them as number one as her, in our little women's power ranking list that we did. But, Impact seemed to be doing a lot right. AEW clearly, well, according to my followers and what we've spoke about here for the past 2.5 hours, there is a lot that AEW could be doing better. And I think like I said earlier, I think we all hope that happens. It's not like we're here on Team WWE point scoring and hoping that secretly hoping that AEW's women's division goes down the drain. We don't want that. We want it to be elevated and be better than WWE, be the best in the world. Like I was saying earlier, that I think AEW, one of the most damning things about the whole women's division with AEW is that the fact that they could do it if they really wanted to. They've got a lot of amazing talent there anyway. There's a lot of amazing talent on the indies, and because of their creative freedom they give the talent, and it's not so corporate and regimented like WWE is, they can really get something going here, and they just haven't done it. Go ahead, Joshua.
I have two things. One of the things that I always have an issue with whenever we have conversations like this, especially on Twitter, since this is a more nuanced conversation, obviously, is the comparison that always happens between the companies. When in reality, what we're actually looking for is not to compare it to progress for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
by
we want it
comparing
all
them,
uplifted.
by comparing them, it just brings everything down to like, don't support the comparison stuff. Obviously, we ranked it here, but you know, in general, like we want all the companies to succeed, especially when it comes to women's wrestling. Like support the wrestlers, not the companies. But also, I think with AEW, some of the women there might struggle because a lot of their creative stuff is left on them, and especially if they're younger in the business and they haven't been here for a long time, like Julia Hart. Julia Hart cannot do the same stuff as Bryan Danielson. She can't, you know, always write her own promos and her own storylines and things like that. So there needs to be some more creative support backstage.
Yeah, definitely.
Which Nicole talked about.
Me, hello.
Yeah, hire Lovely. I think that's a fair point to end on. If you're a big wrestling company and you're watching the world famous WrestlePurists podcast, then shout Lovely, give her a call. You know, she'll help you out. She'll help you out with making those women feel special. So so that's been the WrestlePurists podcast, episode number 3, I believe. Just talking about the current state of US women's wrestling scene. To be honest, I've been Montel, Lovely, Jay Shao. Lovely, do you have anything to plug? And Jay Shao, you can go after.
You can just follow me on Twitter, Lola_BLUU. Of course, I have the bracelets always on deck, whatever it is you need. I do have some things coming down the pipeline soon, so just stay tuned. I'm finally doing things that they have fussed at me about doing for so long. So it's coming. So just stay tuned.
Jay Shao, got any plugs?
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at JShowNicole. I'm currently getting canceled, my mentions. So just don't mind that post. You know, looking up the other stuff I do. I have a Patreon that you can subscribe to for $1 a month. I'm currently working on a series called Wrestling with Whiteness, which will actually be out in the middle of May. I'm very excited. It's a documentary. I interviewed lots of cool wrestlers, Tasha Steelz, Big Swole, Willow, Ricky Starks, about their experience being Black in wrestling. So definitely follow me on Twitter. That'll be mentioned over there when I release it. And you guys can also check me out on the Late Night Grin. I'm a part of that collective. So Late Night Grin on YouTube. Yeah.
So, follow us on Twitter at WrestlePurists. Hit us up on the website, WrestlePurists.com. Go read a feature or something like that. All clicks are appreciated. Like and subscribe. And have a blessed day, everyone.